Yay! The wedding bells sound out for Film Club for weddings and a funeral. Sorry, I had to add it. The British wedding bells that you hear throughout England and when somebody gets married. So anyway, on that, welcome everyone to Film Club. Sandy, how are you?
I am doing so well, having a great day. How are you, Jay?
No complaints. Day by day here and just enjoying a Saturday as much as I can.
That's good. So this isn't my pick, as I'm even as British as you Britishly can get in a way that we will talk about. This is Sandy's pick. Sandy, 4 weddings. A Hugh Grant crash, is it?
It is as British can get. I think it's why I've always loved this movie, and I think it's why this movie did so well. And it's kind of the iconic friends, family, romance, comedy, a little bit of drama, everything kind of film.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it hits a lot of those things, and I also felt it was quite British. I almost feel a little bit more British after having watched it, so I'm ready to talk about this one.
Now, Jay, had you seen it before?
So I had seen it ages ago while
Okay.
it was on like TBS, TNT in the States here. I'm not sure if those channels are over across the pond, but yeah, it was one that used to play a lot, and I'd catch bits and pieces of it as I was a kid, but never really sat down to watch it its entirety. So it was fun to kind of finally check it out.
Oh, it was good. Abe says it was painfully British. Okay. So before I talk about why I picked this film and how I feel about it, so James, I'm assuming you've seen it at least a few times. So I'm interested in the British opinion of the film because my American opinion might be quite different.
I'm going to go with Abe.
Painfully British.
Interesting. Well, see, I always wonder that because, obviously for us in the States, we see some of these movies, we just assume everything's spot on for British culture. But I see it all the time when they do movies, say, that are based in Boston, how over the top they do some of the Boston stuff and accents and things like that. So I'm always kind of curious with things like this. Like, is it really representative of Britain and British culture in terms of, some of the stuff that goes on in it, or is it an over the top?
It's going to be quite good because I think this week I get my own back on Sandy by using the word cliche, and I might use it a lot. Let's just say that.
And I'll admit it.
Now, if I had to say something before we go into it, this is a British movie for the American audience.
It is 100%.
And that's kind of what I was wondering, essentially.
Yes, it is very. There's bits that do annoy me. That we'll go in just because it is that way that you have British movies that are, of course, driven for an American audience. They must show London, but then they immediately in this as well, we get to it, they're in Somerset.
Yeah.
Do you know how long that would take to drive, especially in a car? Apparently, that's 40 miles an hour. You're like, no, and it's like of course they're late and all that, but we just got like, you have to have that drop, and you're like, and there's certain places that aren't there. Of course, everybody in England sounds like Hugh Grant. It's that kind of thing. So we'll go into it. But Sandy, over to you.
Why this film? So I do, and I completely agree. I knew, this was, for me, this was the time when this film, when I became aware of this film. So this is high school. This is, peak looking for anything British. I mentioned last time, like Brit boys were a big thing. You loved your Hugh Grant. later on, Jude Law, those British actors, and today there are several that American girls really really like. But for all the cliches, and I do recognize them, this film is simple. It's about love. It's about friendship. It's about loss. It's about growing up. It's a really simple, it is what it says on the tin, as you all say. It's 4 weddings and a funeral. And as this group of friends progresses through those stages of their lives, as some are getting older and getting married, and sadly, some are lost along the way. They're growing up and they're figuring out who they are. I love the core friendship. I do love films that, where you have a group of folks that just stick together thick and thin.
So, I don't know what Abe's trying to say. That's Andy. I'm sure his accent's not as posh.
I was just going to say that I recognize that everyone I know has a different accent, because, and we're going to talk about accents, because the most atrocious accent in this film is the American accent, two American accents by 2 American actors, which I we'll hold on.
Which is weird because it's like, just talk, right? Like, you don't do an accent, just talk.
Oh my gosh,
But,
it's just so dreadful. But we begin learning about Charlie, Charles, Hugh Grant, and alarms are going off. And I like this film because immediately within the first 3 minutes of the film, you know everyone, everything about these characters. You know that Charles and Scarlett are, sharing a flat, and they're kind of wastrels, right? Charles probably because he's kind of a posh boy who doesn't really have to work hard. Maybe Scarlett's kind of scraping by, but hey, they're young. They can't be on time for anything. And the alarms are going off and they're late for a wedding. And you get to know along the way that they have this eclectic group of friends. You don't need to be told who they are, where they're from. You automatically know by the dialogue and by the way they act. You know a lot about these characters. The relationship between, as you kind of go through the film, and you realize that Charles can't quite figure out what his future needs to be and what love is, but love at first sight is going to be what kind of smacks him and hits him. And there are different characters along the way who will also experience that in different ways. But I just love seeing so many different characters portrayed. I like the fact that there is no exposition in this film. You don't get people sitting around telling each other what they already know about their lives. The writing takes care of that. And the situations that they find themselves in takes care of that. So I'll be quiet for a minute and tell me, Jay, on rewatch, after not seeing it for a while, how did you kind of as the film begins and we're heading to the first wedding, did you find that it was or wasn't what you thought it was?
No, it fell in line with what I remembered about it, that kind of like, romantic comedy type of setup. And you could feel that in this beginning before, they reach the romance, where it's kind of just working the comedy angle to a degree. It's not, ha-ha comedy, but it's the little bits, the him being late. You're getting these ideas of these characters, the way he kind of runs into the room and wakes up the other girl, who I'm going to forget all their names except for Charles. I think that's the only one I remember at the moment. But the way he just comedically runs in, goes to get the other girl woken up, and he's just kind of like, cursing and all that on his way over. That it's like, you kind of get the idea. Yeah. And you get the idea, like, this is a common thing for them. So you could definitely feel the idea, like the tone of the movie very early, which I like. I think that's standard with a lot of romantic comedies and things like that. But what I really liked, and something you touched on, was the way they just established the characters, the cast, the friendships so quickly and so efficiently. You really get an idea of like each different person in this group before you even learn their names, like Fiona and her brother and all that. Like, I'm trying to remember exactly the point where you remember where they start saying their names. And to be honest, I don't even know if I caught them the first time through as they're mentioning them, because I'm just kind of like getting really interested in all these different characters. You know, the male couple that's in it, like again, their name is slipping my mind, but like
Gareth and Matthew.
Yes, Gareth and Matthew. I thought they were brilliant, and so quickly you start to understand their relationship. The brother and sister, Fiona, and God, I'm forgetting his name now. Charles and his roommate that he lives with. All of them, you just really his brother as well. It all comes together so quick, and you can just feel there's so much heart and love in this kind of relationship and friendship that they have going on. It's not, you know, it's just very well done, very efficient, and it immediately kind of sets the tone of like, this is going to be a fun movie, but there's going to be a lot of heart to this movie as well, which I liked.
Yeah, it does. It easily sets it up like you don't like. Even I think the opening with the seeing the friend group is the opening title, really, like that. So then it kind of goes in, and then it goes straight in to the first. It's in the title. You'll get in a wedding, and they go bang straight in that, and it sets it up, especially with Charles, Hugh Grant's character, that he is the kind of bumbling fool. Kind of, he's going to be that kind of that character throughout the movie because one, he's late. When he even turns up to the church, he's half dressed still, even though that would be like a 4-hour journey. And then, of course, he's forgotten the wedding rings, and that bit, you know, like
there's the big cliche. Forgot the wedding rings.
Right.
Forgot the wedding rings, and then they have a little bit of a silly moment. Is we need some rings, and he's trying to tell was it Matthew? I need rings, and then of course only his friends have got is one that's a skull, and then one that looks like a candy love heart.
Yeah, like you knew that those were going to be goofy rings, whatever he got back. But so even with some of the cliches in this one, they do it in such a fun, enjoyable way that it doesn't feel like, oh my God, another cliche. At least not to me. I'm sure, you know, maybe others feel that way, but you know, even knowing the rings were going to be some weird, goofy things that come up. When you kind of see them and you get the little shrug from Matthew, like, dude, this is what I got. Like, I'm not the one who forgot the rings, you are. He kind of just shrugs them and hands them to them. And, you know, it's just done in such a fun way that it doesn't feel as like on the nose of a cliche as it you know, ultimately is.
Yeah. So, it's very cliche to me. You got like Somerset, England, countryside wedding, and then even to that when the wedding ends, it's got a farmer's like next to the church. It's like, oh, we're gonna get the
step in a cow patch.
Like that. So it's very because that's English countryside. So it's quite amusing to see. But of course, then we get into the thing is outside the church. The church is it's the quickest ceremony, I suppose, out of the all of them, because it's all about Charles in Carrie.
Carrie,
so
nice hat.
Carrie.
Thanks. I thought it's special.
So Andie MacDowell character.
This is criminal.
So
criminal.
So it's Fiona, isn't it? So Fiona, if I remember rightly, is Fiona. They say, he asked Fiona, who's one of his closest friends, played by Kristen Scott Thomas, is who's that in the black hat? Who's that? Oh, it's some. I think he calls it some American slut. It's like that.
Well, she says an American, and she's like, yeah. By the way, she's a slut.
Slut, yeah. Like straight in. I don't like it, but then there is
got that right.
It gets more into it, later on. But again, it's like indicating straight away. You know, that whole thing. So it's like this whole the first wedding is again setting it up, because then you have Charles's brother, who is deaf, and they're doing the sign language, and then somebody comes up to Matthews and said, "Oh, who's the handsome chap with kind of Charles?" Oh, it's his brother, and then they kind of think, the ditch. So that's it, and then you kind of straight away, you know, as well, when they're again, there's some funny more like I suppose the old senile uncle who's like that. I'm Charles. How dare you?
There's some really good laughs in this.
Yeah. Again, it's like, you know, it's I suppose they're trying to make out this. It is done that every English wedding, you have those people in that, like Scarlett's supposed to be, again, the drunken, goes in, kisses the guy. Hello, don't get me too drunk. You know, you have the bridesmaid who's trying to hook up. It's all like, yeah, okay, it's an English wedding. This is what happens in every English wedding.
Well, one thing I liked about that too is like a lot of that is relatable to American weddings as well. You know, I think my favorite thing about this movie, it's just weddings in general for the most part. Obviously, some cultures have totally different weddings, but English and American weddings aren't very far apart. I know, minus some few customs that are going to be different. So what I loved about the whole movie in general, the character of Charles, that was just the relatability of it. There was so much relatable, whether it's things I've experienced or have, you know, from seeing other people experience and go through. So much of this, like just from weddings and all that, and, you know, going there single and trying to, you know, see if you go, you know, find somebody, all that kind of stuff. All of it was just so relatable and so charming in the way that it was done.
The best one was John, who we later find out is Duckface's brother. And, you know, Charles just keeps putting his foot in his mouth and says something to the effect of, you know, is so-and-so your girlfriend? And John says, well, no. And before he can say, no, she's now my wife, Charles cuts him off and says, oh, thank God, because, you know, she didn't stop bonking so-and-so the whole time you were going out. And his face. And he says, no, she's not my girlfriend. She's now my wife. And it just the way they just both kind of crumble. That happens at weddings all the time. You know,
those awkward catch-up conversations that, you know, foot goes in mouth pretty quickly.
It's just, and it is cliche. But
that's, I was just going to say, again, another cliche, but it's done in such a light, humorous way that it works. You know, it doesn't feel like it's like hitting you with one cliche after another.
Yeah, when they set up the humor moments, everybody, they know when you're supposed to laugh. This is, we're setting you up. This is the funny bit. Right. So you do have a little giggle to yourself. It's not over like in Stitches. You're having a little giggle. It's like, that is one of those ones.
A little giggle. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. But
let me tell you what's criminal here. This is the Andie MacDowell is a good actress. She is horrific in this film.
Okay, thank God. I'm like, I was hoping I wasn't going to be able to say. So my biggest gripe in the film is I haven't seen her in much, to be honest with you. This and Groundhog's Day is like the two things that come to mind. And I can't really remember her performance in that, but I was stunned at how poor she was in this. In terms of like my faults of the movie, her and her character, and I'll get into that. I was not a fan of the character Carrie.
No.
And I'll go into that a bit later on, but she was just awful in this, like a soulless, hollow performance. While everybody else is giving these really lively, fun characters to the audience, she is just a black hole of charisma in this one.
Well, what's interesting is the first actress that was supposed to play Carrie is, to me, even a more bland actress, and that was Jean Triplehorn. I don't know if you remember her.
I know that name.
A few movies. She was in what was the John Grisham one with Tom Cruise? It's not The Verdict. Oh, The Firm. So she was the wife in The Firm, kind of from that time. She's also a really bland actress. So in my brain, I already know.
Oh yes, I know her now. Basically,
they were
going. Yep.
They were going for that. And here's where, yes, it's a British movie made for Americans, but they went with the total cliche mid-Atlantic American female accent, which we all have to do at work all day long, every day. But it was so uncomfortable on her. Like, she's not mid-Atlantic. She's, I'm not sure where she's from, but she has more character to her voice than that bland, you know, my accent, basically. It was like a forced American accent, as if she were an American playing a British person playing an American. That's how it felt. Later on, when Scarlett finds her man, Tom the American, I think his name's Tom, he also has that dreadful accent, right? And he's supposed
to be from Texas as well.
Yeah. Of all things, I'm like, and every so often you get a little bit of that southern bit to it, and I'm like, all right, why aren't you leaning into that more? Yeah,
but this is
Yeah.
the whole movie, because there is not an English accent in this movie. It's all, oh, hello,
like
how
a
are you
posh
today?
kind
What?
the
Yeah,
Cambridge
this isn't it.
Oxbridge,
This isn't posh. This isn't like, I couldn't. Like if I had to say where everybody came from, it would be like a little town in Hampshire. That is it. And no other place in England has a different accent, because you always, like in any, you always get a Scot, an Irish, a Welshman at at a wedding, or like a Cornish accent. They're in Somerset and nobody has a Somerset accent. It's like that. They all sound like pirates. It's like that. There is just that there are two accents. There's the bland American, but then there's that. Oh, what do you? The believed British accent, I suppose, is the word like that. So if it would be, it's strange because all the actors are, of course, English. There's a couple of Scots in there, but the main ones in there, the main group are English. And it's like if an American said, "Can you do this accent?" And they were trying to tell you how an Englishman spoke. That is it, because that's how. Hugh Grant, still speaks like that, but everybody else speaks like, we have that accent, please, that accent across the thing, especially like. It's obvious, like Hugh Grant's character is in London, so he might have a bit of a twang, like it's even when he says "fuck," it's really posh. Bugger is really posh.
I noticed that. That one stuck out. So
and I don't think I've used the word bugger ever in my whole entire life.
It's funny because when you mentioned that, when he's saying, because he's in the church, whatever, he's like, Lord, please forgive me for what I'm about to say. I did not expect that to be the word. I'm like, I thought you were going to pick something way worse than that. But granted, I don't know the true meaning of that in English culture. I don't know how bad of a word that is, but I'm like, I don't think it's as bad. I at least thought you were going to say, F words, things like that.
To say shit. I suppose it'd be shit.
Is that what it equates to? Yeah, so I'm like, I thought you were going to say something way worse than
that.
So it's funny you pointed out the accents, because to me, I didn't really notice it, because again, I'm not from there, so the accents kind of just went right over my head, but I was able to notice it on the American side of the accents. It kind of sounds like it was both the same thing, where the people who are naturally from these areas supposed to do these natural accents chose to do them as if they were from the opposite countries, doing a mockery, not a mockery, but an imitation of what the accents should be. Because Sandy nailed it. It sounded like Andie MacDowell's was like a British actor trying to do an American one or something like that.
Well, John Hannah, I think, who plays Matthew, I think he's Scottish, and he plays a very soft, like English accent in it. Gareth and what's his name, Simon Callow.
Callow.
That's not exactly. He's really different. James Fleet is he's a bit more common than that. He's got a bit of a common twang, but then Christian Scott Thomas and Hugh Grant, they're the only probably two in there who have that kind of very stage British accent.
I think that is a great way to put it, Stasis. I was thinking that, and I just didn't get the term out, but I was thinking like that theatrical play kind of stage was the perfect way to put that. And I think I bought, because I thought the Matthew character's accent, I thought it was good. It sounded Scottish. Was it Scottish that he was going for with his? I thought John Hannah.
Yeah, I think.
I thought him and Gareth were going Scottish, and I thought it sounded okay. But again, I'm not the best with dialects and accents and things like that. But when
you never met a Glaswegian, then.
But when it came to Hugh and Kristen Scott's character Fiona, I kind of just bought their accents, because Hugh, obviously, it's how I've always known him to talk. I feel like he still talks like that to this day. And I kind of attributed Kristen Scott's characters to be it because it seemed like she was very wealthy. So I kind of just was like, oh, she's wealthy. Maybe she speaks just a little bit more posh, or, as you said, stage maybe is the better way to put it. So I kind of just bought them, and I didn't think much of it. But I can obviously, with my issues with the other two American accents, I can understand your point of, no, they wouldn't sound like this.
No, it's again, but at the time, I think in America, so this is 1994, and in America, I know our
I would have been 2 years old when this movie came out.
Oh my god! I was in high school. Okay, never mind. Sure.
Sorry, everyone. Didn't mean to age you guys. Sorry.
You do it every time. But this is when, we're getting on our public television, we're getting more stuff now. We're getting Doctor Who. We're getting the Vicar of Dibley and Hyacinth Bouquet, and so it was a big
Miss
deal.
Bucket.
Yes, Bucket. Bucket. It's pronounced bouquet. But it's a thing, and there are more films. And like I said, we're into the British, and then Hugh Grant, he's going to go on a trajectory. And I don't know the timing of, from About a Boy and Bridget Jones' Diary, and then
Mickey
Richard.
Blue Eyes. And not that
Yeah,
it was a great movie, but that's one that, like, to me sticks out for Hugh
yeah,
Grant.
Yeah, this was the time. It was when in the UK that the government started giving the kind of funding. So I think this is when somebody got to go in chat. I'm sure it was in the mid-90s. Then we got the National Lottery. And they started funding it, and then we got Film 4. That was big. It was one of the biggest ones that came out. Then everybody else got into the bandwagon, and then all the old studios, in Boreham Wood, they started getting more funding, opening up. So it was kind of a time in the UK cinema where, you've got a name, let's give it a go. We do low budget, and that is it. Get it trying. But it was most of the ones you see at this era are very plugged. There's not a British film. Yeah. It's British for American audiences.
It is, and we lapped it up.
To sell. Yeah.
We lapped it up. Richard Curtis, who wrote, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, also wrote Love Actually, also wrote About Time, in the same formulaic way, right? Richard Curtis writes relationships, and they're a little formulaic and they're a little cliche, but they hit you right in the feels. He does that, and I feel like 4 Weddings is the young adult kind of exploration of relationships, and then Love Actually really kind of covered every kind of relationship, and that intertwined, the stories at every age. I thought was kind of cool. And I really like About Time. I think it was called About Time, which didn't get a lot of praise, but it's the one about the magical, mystical time traveling, and I won't spoil it. It's not on our list, but go see it. Bill Nighy and Donald Gleason are in it, and they have a family trait where they can travel through time a little bit, or at least kind of relive certain days. And as Bill Nighy is getting older, and he tells his son that this is going to start happening to him, and his son said, "You keep reliving the same day over and over again. Why?" And Bill Nighy leans back, and he's in his library, and he points to all the books he's read in his life. Do you know, that is my dream. If I had my superpower, it would be to relive a day over and over again, so that every day I could read another book. Anyway, I've diverted us, but that's the Richard Curtis formula. It's always that at the end of the day, there's some really feel good love stories there. Now let's talk really briefly, discard the accents, but this is a top ensemble cast. Hugh Grant and Andie MacDowell, we've talked about. Kristen Scott Thomas is one of my favorite actors of all time. I love her in everything. We're going to see her in Gosford Park, of course. She's probably in a few films that we have on the list. John Hannah has developed into an amazing dramatic actor. Simon Callow does everything. Trained Royal Shakespeare. Many of these are actually Shakespearean trained actors. Rowan Atkinson, of course, from the Footlights, came from the comedy set.
Mr. Bean. He's Mr. Bean.
I have to say, I absolutely adore Rowan Atkinson. I just think he's so funny, and it's just such a good, wholesome kind of funny too. Which don't get me wrong, I like my raunchy funny too, and the edgy funny, but he's just so damn funny in everything he does. With even in this movie, that's what it is. It's the delivery, but it's the physical nature, his facial expressions, his body, the way he uses all that to help. He is just brilliant. That's a little aside of my fandom for Rowan Atkinson.
We'll see him again in Love Actually. Charlotte Coleman, a really sad story that I did not know until I started preparing for today, who played Scarlett. She died very young.
I found that out when I looked into it.
Yeah, she died of asthma at age 33.
Oh, was that what it was? I just saw the age. I didn't even look that much into. Jeez, no kidding.
Yeah, she died of asthma. And then James Fleet and not just James Fleet, but many of these actors are absolute workhorses of British television and film. When I look, because I remember him from Vicar of Dibley and from the film Sense and Sensibility, which is my favorite Jane Austen novel and my absolute favorite film version of a Jane Austen novel. But James Fleet, my God, that man doesn't stop working. If you look at his filmography, he does everything. And like you said, James, he's very understated, has more of a common voice, always plays, except in Sense and Sensibility, always plays these really humble characters. Also a stage trained actor, but and there's a whole host of other actors in this film, and you're going to see some people that you say, wow, I know I saw that guy. I know that guy, but where's he from? And when we get to the boatman, the jolly boatman, we're going to meet the what's his name? The Boar.
The Boar, yep.
George the Boar. And you may know George the Boar as Rupert Van Sittart, who plays Jan Royce in Game of Thrones, among many other kind of smaller roles that he's had. So really a fantastic ensemble cast. And again, were they misused? Were they used? Well, I don't know if we got the absolute best performances out of them, except I will say for me, Kristen Scott Thomas and John Hannah absolutely steal the show. But for what this film was intended to be, I think it was a top cast doing everything they needed to do, except Andie MacDowell. So the first wedding is coming to a close, and there are some, the bride and groom have gone, and there are a few people dancing. By the way, the bride and groom dancing. Okay, we've seen that kind of dancing at weddings. All of us.
My girlfriend said that's what I would dance like.
I was like, what? That's an insult.
I was like, wow. that kind of dad dance. That's what it was.
All right, I need to see this. Now I need to see this. We need to put dancing and clubbing on our list. I need to see this. But I've seen people do the hopping up and down, like the way that the groom just started hopping up and down. I have seen, we've all seen that at weddings, and it's always kind of fun. But then you get just for a brief moment, just for a really brief moment, Charles is sitting down, and he looks over to Tom, the James Fleet character, who obviously I think is probably like his best friend from school or something. And they just have a little moment, to talk about love. And Tom is the ever optimist. Tom, regardless of the fact that things don't seem to go his way, he knows he's going to be happy. He knows he's going to get married. And he's just the ever optimist. And they have that little moment where Charles is very negative, but Tom's just there. And he's just really optimistic about, you're gonna find it, and you got the bridesmaid and the groomsmen who are getting sloshed and not, happy or not happy about not hooking up. And I was promised to hook up at a wedding. That's why I'm here.
I loved Bernard in this scene, or I don't know if you guys say you guys say Bernard.
Yeah,
is that still just Bernard, and you're just saying it Bernard, or is that a totally different name?
Bernard.
Yeah, so Bernard then.
Bernard.
Okay, so Bernard for us Americans. I loved this little spot with him.
Attack.
He's so funny in it. He's just so funny in it when he's like, well, me and you could, and she's just like, God, Bernard or Bernard. I'm not that desperate. And
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. Fair point. I'm like, dude, it was just so funny.
He's another one who's in a lot of different films, kind of in the background, and even in one of the Miss Marple mysteries, he was a really evil guy. And she, the actress, that's Sophie Thompson. That's Emma Thompson's sister.
No kidding.
And
I didn't know that.
Also a stage-trained actress. She tends to show up in different television shows. And for those who love, Abe, I'm going to say it, for those who love EastEnders, like I love EastEnders, she played Crazy Stella, this absolute maniacal. Talk about a wedding in EastEnders. She meets her death in a wedding dress.
Oh, that's
falling off a roof or being pushed off a roof. there are different stories, but she was an absolute evil witch in East End, and you can't imagine that looking at her here because she's kind of a silly, it's kind of a silly gal. But yeah, she plays an absolute evil woman in EastEnders. But again, the quality of the actors and this whole on every corner, you're getting a really well-known stage trained actor here. I like her performance. I like her but I can't do it.
See, I don't know how you guys get
I can't say Bernard.
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 But spell it out. It's Bernard. That's Bernard. It would be it'd be an E instead of an A for nerd.
I'm just going to put it out there. I'm just going to put one thing. Anybody who's came from the country that invented the language, put your hand up. Bernard.
Right. Let's not. We've had inventors go too far before and mess up their own product.
It's not a bit of French and German in your language.
Even Apple makes a bad iPhone every so often. You gotta.
It's like
you can invent it, but you can mess it up too.
Bucket.
There you go. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys get Bernard out of that one.
I can't say I want to say. It's one of. I'm stuck now.
Bernard is
Bernard.
The last word would have to be nerd, and it's nard. So I don't know how you guys get nerd out of that.
Okay, Bernard.
My God, I'm about to start a poll.
It's not fair. It looks like there's.
It's a biased poll. I won't respect the results.
Yeah, really. Anyway, okay. So sorry to divert on
Bernard.
I'll
even get rid of my Boston accent for it and say Bernard at the very least. I won't say Bernard. I'll say Bernard. But I don't know how you guys get Bernard out of that.
So we've had a wonderful time at the wedding, and everybody's.
And can I say before we go on things like that, I do like this the wedding, like when we previously said, it shows us the group. This shows the groups who they are, because we've got we have Gareth, who is over the top, flamboyant. He's he wants to be the life of the party, even though he's the older one. We've got the kind of very respectful Matthew. He's a boyfriend, all of that. And then of course got Kristen Stott Thomas. She's a bit of a bitch, but she's very a posh bitch. But she's things. And we got Scarlett.
She's earned it.
A free will and all that. And of course, you go on to the others that we've clicked through as well, but it sets up. Oh, look, the characters. It sets them up. We don't need to know anything else, and like that. That's it. So when the wedding kind of moves on, of course, you have this. I suppose all the Brits, I suppose you want to call it, have these their traits, their characters, and that's why when Carrie then comes back in, it's like, oh, but you're gonna give me some. You're going to give me something, just there's no characters there except for she goes then back to Charles at the end and says, I'm staying at a hotel where you stay in, kind of as Fiona said, bit of a slut.
Bit of a slut. But this is after Tom. Yeah. Tom had said, hey, everybody, we're going back to my house for Nan's going to make us whatever. I don't know. Nan's going to make us grilled cheese or something and a late night Scrabble. Oh, I would love friends to say, come over for a late night Scrabble. And everybody's like, yay, we're all in. This is so fun. And then here she comes and she spoils it. She spoils the late night Scrabble with her sluttiness. I didn't like that.
But when we get there, when they get into the Land Rover, because everybody in England drives a Land Rover, is like that, and they're drunk. That's never going to happen in the UK. You're going to get arrested very, very quickly.
Yeah,
they show it quite a lot. They show it quite a lot in American movies. You've had a couple of drinks and all that. That's a wedding. No idiot's going to drive after a wedding unless you're completely teetotal and then you drive. You're not going to do it, especially you've got everybody round in the back of a Land Rover. Yeah, the police are going to be like, and we're winning. Like that. The next scene is they're going to be in the cop, the back of the cop cars. Yeah. So
it's funny because I noticed that watching it, and I think when he gets out of that, when he gets out of the car, he says something like, well, this was a bad decision or like a poor decision or something, because he's kind of thinking like, crap, maybe I should have just done with them. But I'm thinking like, that's the best decision you ever made. That drunken car could end up in a ditch. You just made the best decision of the movie, whether with or without, hooking up with Andie MacDowell's character.
Yeah. So we did actually miss one character. We meet the before we go on to the pub, I suppose you want to call it, the hotel pub. Kind of, we missed the best character in the whole thing. So he gets introduced as a trainee thing, but he's Deliverance, even though like Jay said, he's just like really snippet. He's like very just like he doesn't say much in his first scene. He just kind of goes, stands back, does a very a very
Mr. Bean kind of thing. And it's what's so brilliant about it is that they leave the scene very much up to Fiona to kind of drive it narratively or dialogue wise, where she's just making him uncomfortable. As soon as she finds out he's a training priest, she immediately goes to talk about sex and these things that are obviously going to make him uncomfortable. And without any real dialogue, he just delivers this physical comedy
he's still
so on cue for him, and he's brilliant.
Great.
He's brilliant.
But again, it makes you giggle. It's just like that little,
100%.
Like it's just. I was just saying, but that's to say they played up who the parts were, who was going to deliver the comedy lines. It was there's like when you're supposed to laugh, that's when you have a little laugh to yourself. You're like, like that. So yeah, it's going on. But then we get into. I'm guessing it's a pub hotel. I'm guessing the next bit is. Yeah.
I figured it as like something like kind of. Not quite something more quaint than a hotel.
An inn.
I want to say inn, but I know in America sometimes inns are a little different. Sometimes they're a lot more quaint and they're literally like a house that's just got a few rooms. Sometimes they're a little bit big. Like that one struck me as like, for me, I think of a Vermont inn that I went to a wedding at once where similar like that, handful of rooms, nice little place, fireplace, lodge, all that kind of stuff, and a bar. Yeah.
So for the bar would close at 11 o'clock in England, and you wouldn't get anybody serving drinks
especially here in Mass too.
Yeah.
By 11 they'd be shutting down.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll say this scene, and then of course he turns up. She's there. They have a little bit of back carry. She's there with Charles, a bit back and forth, and then a drunk comes in. The only a little bit older, who. Then he goes, George, after they've both a bit of drinks, and then he turns and she's no longer there.
And she's like, gone. Oh. And she's I've done that move. I've made that move before. Just dive away from someone who and George, he is the elder statesman, the talker, the one with the stories, and he wants to sit in the big leather chair and sip whiskey and just share stories, and there's nowhere for Charles to go, and she's behind the chair. She's hiding behind the chair trying to get away from him. And he says, "You seen that gal Carrie? You seen that gal Carrie around? Thought she was going to be here. Oh well, never mind. Let's grab a bottle. You and I.
Let's see if we can push this to the morning."
Well, that's where he has the drinks, and he's like, "Here's your whiskey." So
that's
like one great. For you and one for the road.
Another little chuckle moment.
Yeah, exactly. It's like good, well done, and of course, and then so then she's behind a settee, and then she scarpers somehow upstairs with nobody seeing, and then. The barman, I suppose you want to call it, or the waiter, your wife expecting you in room 12 if you were so drunk you forgot. And again, he plays the blimlin idiot again. What are you talking about? It's a bit obvious, like even
he's a little
should
thick,
be a bit
as you all say.
Yeah. So he plays it there, and then of course he goes up to the room, and we have, I suppose, a very timid sex scene. That is the best way to do it. They've like that, and I don't like who talks that much over sex.
Like that. I thought exactly. My thoughts. I'm like, all right, I get some kind of talking.
Now we know we're all normal. We're all normal now. We know this now. Okay.
It's like you're not gonna have that kind of conversation. These are my best moves.
Get this.
What are we talking about?
Oh yeah, it's a bit weird. I thought the same thing, Stasis. I'm like, can you both please just shut up and get this scene over with, the love of God?
I don't know if they were trying to make it a light, because we're going to have a sex scene, but we'll make it a little bit lighthearted.
Yeah, we want like a little quirkiness to it, but it was
it was just like a bit weird. It was just like, you're both a bit drunk, apparently. That's not really,
which is even less likely that you're going to be talking that much.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I know. I picked up on that as well.
So it fades straight into the next wedding invitation straight away after. There's a bit of a weird back and forth, isn't it? Like just before that, well, she again, it's such a wooden deliverance. It didn't they should have just cut it. Is when she goes, "Oh, when are you going to announce our engagement?" And it should have been a funny moment. She should have played off the funny card, but she delivers her line so bad. It's it's a crappy scene.
It was terrible.
Yeah, because he goes into, again, I'm a bit thick. What happened? I was really drunk last night, but and then she kind of has a wooden laugh, and it's just like,
and that's what I'm like, even so, like, okay, I could make peace with the delivery because she's trying to trick him, obviously, with the little joke. So I could make peace with the delivery, even though I think it was really just bad acting. But I can make peace with it. She wants to be dry. She wants to kind of get her joke across. But there's no like life and laughter to when the joke's finally revealed to be a joke. She's just still dry and wooden. She was brutal in this.
Yeah, there's no gotcha. It's just like
there's no playfulness to it. It's just like, my word, you are a plank of wood.
And it's also, why is he attracted to her?
Yeah.
Why?
So that's something
past the physical. And
we'll go on to that later.
That's something I definitely wanted to talk about, is like the idea of his attraction to her is just, like you said, we'll get into that a little later on. I just don't see it. I don't see it. And I'm not even talking just physical. Like, I think she's a pretty woman and all that. It's just nothing about this cat. Like, to tell me he's madly falling in love with this character isn't believable to me, because there's nothing about her that feels like a once in a lifetime, across the room, time stands still type of love at first sight. I just don't see it with her.
That's why I think it fitted in that it's selling to the American market. It's that I suppose an American comes over and falls for the posh Brit. The posh Brit falls for her. It's supposed to be that connection, but she's so not likable before we get there. It's just
then there's the character, right? Then there's the character side of it too, who just becomes more and more unlikable and selfish throughout this entire movie.
Oh my god! Yeah.
But it's just like, again, it's before we've even got to that part of her character, she's already unlikable because the performance is just so bad, and it's a shame because Hugh's doing a solid job. Hugh's trying to, he's giving a relatable and believable role. He's just working with nothing across from him in this. I mean, when he's working with his friends, there's great chemistry between the friends, all that stuff. Like that's to me the heart of the movie. The friendships, like Cindy said earlier, the friendships, them all kind of growing up. We'll talk about how the movie ends with the pictures of all of them and all that. So them kind of coming away from this single lifestyle to just growing up a bit. That's the heart of the movie for me, more so than this love story, because I couldn't buy into it as much as I wanted to.
No, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know if we need to say the next wedding, but I'm going to let you two. Who's getting married next?
I'm not saying
Bernard. Is that how you guys say it?
Lydia. I can say Lydia.
Lydia and Bernard. Or Bernard, if you're.
So after they've had their wild drunken night, they've actually they've fallen for each other, and it's got like I can't remember if this is the one they do the time jumps like 3 months later. I can't remember. Well, how many months out of it is later? So this is it.
It was quick.
And again, this isn't about the wedding. This is all about let's get Rowan Atkinson to steal.
We need a Rowan scene.
We're not the only ones who couldn't say his name, because Rowan Atkinson couldn't get the names right. He can't say Bernard.
But he's just so good in this.
He's delivering again. It's that, I suppose it's very that 80s 90s British timing of like how you do your comedy. That just like, it's even like how like he's so great in this scene. Like it's like that 1 second pause just to do that next line, and it just makes it like that. And it's a line, it's not overly funny, but it makes you smile all the way through it, because you know it's coming, you know the setup, you know it's gonna keep coming, but it's just so well. And like Bernard plays it. So like they play off each other. It's like when they're saying that, no, it's that. It's like when, the holy goat.
Well,
and it's like,
yes,
like
well, and that's one thing to credit too in this scene. Lydia and Bernard, the actors who play them, really do a good job at adding their own little bit of humor to it, because you're kind of laughing at their responses too, because I think they mentioned that it's a family friend, so you can tell they're trying to work with them and help him too. It's not a bride and groom who are pissed off that he's messing up. They're trying to work with them too, and they're like leaning in a little bit to like, opening up their facial expression, be like, yeah, get it right. It's Bernard. Like the way they play it as well is really good.
I would love to see the outtakes to this, because I'm just.
Oh my God, I'm sure they were just.
Yeah, rolling. I bet you they were like, like that, because he has to play it deadpan, because he's he's a bit like as the vicar priest. I think I'm sure he's like a Catholicism, like just the background. I think it's not Church of England, but like how he's how it's like just how he's got to play it straight, but keeps on cocking it always up, and then their faces the other side must have been great. There must be some good
I can only imagine.
Yeah. So
the faces of the parents, because they're the ones getting really annoyed.
Yeah,
like the faces of, I guess, Bernard's and Lydia's parents are just getting so annoyed, and they're just looking more gloomy every time they flash to them, and the nervousness that Rowan Atkinson's getting more and more nervous.
Sweaty's going up and up.
And then you have Charles and all his friends enjoying it and having a good laugh about it, and the whole scene just works so well.
But that's it. Like, and then Gareth, I like the end. He just like brings the movement, because they know, he's a friend of the family. You've done well. They're married. It's one. Probably my favorite scene in like the whole thing, but again, it's because of Rowan Atkinson. He's
iconic. He's just brilliant.
Yeah. So you get that, and is it now like we have the after party? And I don't get because they don't explain it why Carrie is at the first wedding. She's just a friend of the family. So I'm guessing they're another friend of the family. I don't get why she's at this wedding.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Or it's either that or Hamish. Somehow they're all intertwined.
Yeah. I can't really remember how she ends up here either. I'm not really sure.
No, she just introduces herself to Charles once again, doesn't she? So it's like that, like outside, isn't it? So
like, we have to stop meeting like this. Dreadful accents.
Yeah.
Now,
and he's trying to play it cool, like, but like meeting up. It's just that, and then this is where I always think because she blatantly knows that he likes her. She blatantly knows that he likes and then here's Hamish. Ta-da! By the way, since we've been gone, not very long. Oh, by the way, I'm engaged now. And to this
older man. Gee, I wonder why. Slut. Gold digger.
But then it shows a bit of like the friendship group, especially with it seems Matthew is the shoulder. He's the one that everybody can talk to, because there are different ones that go up to Matthew if it's in the background, all that. He's the ear. You always can like divulge stuff to Matthew. He's the one that you always going to be into that, and they have a bit of things, and then it has then it goes straight into a bit of normality. Then it goes into a bit of very good humor of the worst position you could be in as a wedding is if you're sitting there with all your exes.
Oh yes, I actually forgot about this. This is a really nice little scene too.
And he's like, because I think he actually says bugger, then he looks at the tables and he's like, I like that, and he's like that, and he walks off, and then you get to is Duckface there? Is she?
Duckface is
Duckface. No, she's not there. No, she's not there.
She shows up at the end. Yes, Miss Piggy's there, and a few of the other ones. And I actually like this, because I thought when he saw the names list, because again, talk about relatable moment. Who hasn't been to a wedding, finds a table they're at, and you're just like, oh shit, this is not the table I want to be at. I just recently had one last year, where I was like, oh no, dude, why did you put me at this table? So such a great little relatable moment there. But I actually thought it was going to be him sitting with Carrie and her fiance. So to kind of curveball it into a group of his exes that were going to have this nice little comedy bit was kind of I don't want to say twist, but a little bit of a curveball that I didn't see coming.
Purposely done.
They
like
didn't
that.
have trouble with the curve in this one.
No.
Yeah. But the bet, what I like to see, but I still think the funny scene is the old lady, well, not old middle-aged lady, I suppose, with Fiona's, and she's like, single? No. Lesbian, because that would be more interesting. Like then they have like back and forth instead of like talk. I like that. I just
well, it's funny because it's such a good point too. It's like that does make for a more interesting conversation than just like the normal like in time you'll find someone type of thing. Like,
and then she finds out, you know, straight away. Then it's obvious. It's like, oh, I am in love, but they don't know. You know, like you know straight away the way she's been around Charles, you just get it. You get it straight away, and then they just like again. But anyway, I was lesbian for 15 minutes at high school, so I don't think that really counts though. And again, it's just like that. Like you go into serious, then levity,
and then right. And that's what I think this movie does well. Which a lot of good because I do like a good rom-com. It's not my preferred movie genre to go into, but I'll always appreciate a good one. This is a good one. And I think one thing that good ones do is they give it a little bit of seriousness. And honestly, a lot of movies, when you're trying to balance out the gravity or the heaviness of your movie, is using humor to kind of bring it back a little bit, but not undercut kind of the serious thing you just tried to put out there. And I thought they did a great job in this scene. Like she's explaining her love interest, which is Charles, but it's not reciprocated, which again, relatable thing I think a lot of people can relate to. And it's a crappy feeling. It does suck. But then she just, brings it back to earth a little bit, or brings it back to a little bit of the light side, funny side with the, I was, lesbian for 15 minutes. You get a little chuckle, you move on to the next scene. It's subtle, it's quick, but it's just very well done. And it doesn't undercut anything that they were setting up with her explanation of her love that's not going the way she wants it to.
And then you get the next scene is literally all the exes making it awkward for Charles, and then they start all like, "Oh, you're awful," blah blah blah. Oh, but do you remember this one? You said something like, I can't remember about like Miss Piggy and the thing.
Piggy and her mom.
And then she'd like that. We've lost a lot of weight from now, but he knows I'm sitting next to the person you're talking about, who I badmouth to all of you,
and he's trying so hard to get it to stop, and they just keep going, and then she hits you with
up on him.
And then we get another. I suppose
back to Fiona and the old lady, though. This is where, if you look back prior to this scene, you really don't know a lot about her. And what you know about her is, oh, she's some rich, posh, opinionated, judgmental, woman. And then you learn this, and your opinion of her completely changes. And on a second watch of this film, you kind of watch her glancing and being distant, and it's not because she's now you know why. You know why, and you learn so much about her. And again, you don't know it's well, she doesn't say it's Charles, but you do. You kind of know. And boy, to your point, Jay, we have all been there,
right?
Gets you right there, and it's like, oh my God, that feeling, and it's never going to be, and it's just and you feel so much for her. But then you think, well, again, that's another kind of dimension of all the different characters and how they all experience love, and one of them is going to experience love that is not reciprocated, and another one's going to experience love that's lost. So it is it's kind of touching on every different way that you can experience that amazing, wonderful, painful feeling of being in love.
Absolutely.
And then again, after all this, you get like like a very embarrassing best man speech, and everybody's had it. Everybody's
one of those.
You're like, oh my. And whilst we do that, guess who just got their membership for Daily Dysfunction?
Hey,
you couldn't go right. Anyway, there we go, on the nose. Daily Dysfunction very much for the gifted membership. And
I think I just got it.
You got it. Yeah, you got
it. Thank you, Daily. I appreciate it.
Always the way. That is, you can't time that any better. But thank you very much for the gift,
Daily. Thank you.
I just saw it pop out. I was like, oh, then it went straight to you. I was like, oh, odds of that. But yeah, so I do like the best man speech because he's like beforehand, doesn't he? I've got it. It's going to be funny. It's going to be like sad the parts, and it's just and it's so just bad. And then again, it's like the only person who finds it hilarious is Gareth.
Yeah,
he's pissing himself. He's like, "Oh my god, it's one of those," and he's like that. But it just shows I like Gareth's character. He's just there. I'm getting on, but I just here for the moment. I'm here to like live life to the fullest.
That's such a good way to put it. He is truly on life's ride, and that's his purpose. That's his thing, and it works brilliant. He's a really, really likable character.
Yeah. Yeah, because every time you're like, "Oh, that's embarrassing," I love it.
He cuts all the tension of awkwardness. Some of it, I don't quite know if it's him kind of just being cynically humorous in terms of finding funny, the funny nature of how bad the person's either giving the speech or with Rowan Atkinson's, job officiating the wedding. But even there, he's the first one to clap and scream and all that because he kind of cuts that tension of like the awkwardness so well. And you don't really know exactly what angle it's from. Is he laughing at it or laughing with it type of thing?
Everyone should know a Gareth. Everyone have a Gareth in their life for real.
But after that, you get a nice little sweet scene. We get the girl from the first wedding, who has now kind of fallen just by look. She, of course, by Charles's brother. And I can't remember his name.
David.
It's David. That's a David. And she's learned sign language. Well, started to learn, and everything. They put the subtitles up, of course. But every word is near enough wrong, and he's so sweet. He's like that, but then they get to have their dance, and isn't that again a very sweet moment? Of course, whilst that's happening, Charles has had to get away. I've just got to get away because this is a nightmare wedding I'm at. So he goes into a room.
Goes and hides in the bride and groom's room.
Yeah, and the bride and groom turn up for a little bit of an early pre-nuptials, let's say that. And then you see him. He goes like they're at it. They don't notice him. They are making a very funny noises. And
every time he thinks they're done, they're not done yet.
Yeah, and then he goes, and he's gone. He's all you see straight away is he's gone. He's like gone out the thing. And then of course that's a bit of funniness. Then we go a bit to seriousness in the things. A bit cuteness is Scarlett's isn't it? Talking to the young girl.
Little girl.
And then she's like, they're playing underneath the table. Or every kid, there's a way, if the kids are there allowed, there's always they end up under the table. Don't know why, but like, so she's
like a fort, like building a fort at home.
So then she goes, "Oh, where's your boyfriend?" Or like that. Do you have a boyfriend? And she's like, "Oh, I'm just. Everybody thinks I'm a bit too weird to have a boyfriend." It gets it down to that. And then the next bit, you see, Charles, Hugh Grant thing. That door was not a door, like where everybody. He's in it's a closet, like sink closet kind of moment, and. I like it because he's trying to reach. This is again, like they're making some very, again, strange comments, strange noises. Keeps on going and going, and then he finishes, and then she goes, "Should we go?" And he's like, "Oh no, blood! Let's wait a couple of minutes. We should be able to go again." And then at that point, he just comes out with a pen, like a little pencil. I found it. And then just kind of like up. I was like, that's great. But then he goes straight into, as we know, Duckface. As a Duckface, who is his ex, broken up very, very badly from the sounds of it. And she's a bit of a
She's a head. She's a head.
I'm guessing it does refer to women as well had it, that guy. But Jade, every bloke's had one of them when we like, oh my god, lucky, I'm so lucky I got away.
You just can't get away from them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, we all know
some
chat.
That still kind of keep tabs on what you're doing to this day. Oh yeah.
Yep. So that things, but like there's that moment, and then of course Bernard comes out and he's no, I'm not getting involved in that, even though he's like, what the hell are you doing in that? Because he knows the kind of backstory. And then again, Carrie comes up and she explains that what's his name? What's
Hamish.
fiance?
Hamish
That's
had
it.
to go
Yeah,
wherever.
yeah. And do you want to keep me company
Ugh.
in my black? And it's just like, really, you couldn't be like, what is going on with your ex? What is she like? That it's just like, yeah, you know. Again, she's just. It's so self-centered and self-driven of what she wants. She wants a leg over, and she doesn't care about who she hurts on the way, and she doesn't really care about Charles's feelings at this point. It's literally, I just don't care. I just kind of just, you know.
Right. She doesn't care about Charles' feelings, Hamish's feelings. It's about her, what she wants for the night, what she wants in the moment, and that seems to be what drives every action this woman takes.
And then, of course, it skips time forward. He's in bed. Scarlett brings him a cup of tea and crumpets, I'm guessing, and the post, and they're like, even to that, oh, we haven't got a wedding to go through. Oh, it's a wedding invitation. Who is it? It's Carrie and Hamish's wedding. Now, in my point, why the hell is she inviting him to the wedding?
Right.
And it's obvious the Hamish doesn't really know him because he kind of bypasses him when they meet. Then it's not like, oh, you're such and such's cousin. He's just like, come on, let's go, like whoever this person is. Like, and then the next sequence of events are so again self-centered, but why? As it's now I'm not being rude here, but this is the 90s. It would be like a woman inviting their gay friend to the wedding dress part, like the thing. That is it.
This would be an incredibly manipulative thing for somebody to do to somebody who they know who is infatuated with them.
Yes,
and it fits right in line with this character. Yes, typically it would be something more similar to that if somebody was doing this as like an actual platonic thing where they just wanted somebody's opinion and it happens to be a male friend. But in this example, this is another case of her being manipulative, self-serving. She knows he's infatuated with her. She's well aware of it, and she's taking advantage of it because
she's got
attention. She just
anything I say, you're going to do, and it's like it's even to the point when they do the wedding dress shopping. She comes out in very like I think it's 2 ones very inappropriate. They're like, you're not going to get married. Oh, look, they're sexy, kind of like in front of him. You're like, oh, it's just an annoying moment because you're like, and like so any man with a couple of goners, let's say that would go
ping pong balls, as they say in the earlier scene.
But even to that, like after that event's happening, he's already said, I'm supposed to meet David because it was a missed like thing, like he was looking for wedding gift. But then they go into a cafe, and I hate this scene. I do not like this scene because. Like again, it's her. Like I don't even know how they get onto the subject of like I think he's saying about like Hamish, how many, like, you know, before that. And then she goes, well, number 1 was this. Number 2 was this, blah, blah. Number 3 was this one. And it's like, and then she's like, she's had 8. Lady. And then, and then she's like, you work it out. I think it was like 6 or 8 before she was 17. And you're like, what the hell? Like that. Right. And then she just keeps on going. And I'm like, is this not your red flag moment of like she's like upping like the numbers, but also bragging about them at the same time?
So this is the point where I'm like, dude, I've lost any believability to this love interest. You even with the idea of her being married and maybe like she's, you know, married for the wrong reasons type of thing, and she really likes Hugh Grant's character, all goes out the window here because I'm like, oh, she's just manipulative, egotistical, narcissistic, and self-serving. It's all she is. And the idea that he's this, in fact, like he's playing a great role of somebody in love with somebody. The problem is the person he's in love with is a total piece of crap. And it's not believable that somebody would be this in love, like love at first sight with this kind of person. Cause she's just awful. I mean, I can't say it enough. Narcissistic, self-serving, and a little bit of life advice from Nerd Takes here. If you ever meet somebody or tend to find feelings for somebody, and the way you got to that point was them using you to cheat on somebody with, do not be foolish enough to think that that person won't then cheat on you at some point in the future either. Life experience lesson there. Been through it, seen it, done it. Not done it, actually. No, I'm not that kind of person. But been through it, had seen it done to other people before. It happens every time. If you meet somebody through you being the person they've cheated with, it's very likely that they'll do it to you too. So the whole idea behind this romance is just not there for me.
But yeah, but the thing is with this, like what is very unbelievable is how close his friendship group is, because they're so like they're not even like, I suppose what we call it in junior school. Like they're very like, you know, they've known each other from being proper like kindergarten, kind of like for you guys. And you're not saying they all know about her. They all know it, and not a single one of them have gone, mate, she's a psycho. She's a bit of a bitch. You need to stay off. Literally, it's okay shagging her. In the politest terms, but then right, like, do not get hooked.
Exactly.
Because a year later, like you within that thing, she keeps on turning back. I'd be like, grab a mate, I'd be like, mate, stay away. I know she might be a sack, you know, the greatest, you know, sack in the bed, but Jesus, no, stay the hell away.
I don't mean to be crude or crass here, but from the way she talks, she's very wooden, very boring, very bland. I can't imagine that experience in the bed is all that fun either, to be honest with you.
They have to put earplugs in though to stop her from talking.
Right, that too. She won't. Well, the both of them won't shut up, so I guess that's what they each need earplugs. But that too. I mean, there's nothing likable about her character, and there's nothing likable about her performance. So it's like a wasted performance from Hugh, because I think he's playing a good job at somebody infatuated, somebody with love at first sight, somebody who's a little disappointed the person he loves is with somebody else, the timing's not matching up, that kind of thing. But the way it is from her perspective is something totally different, that it's so hard to believe that this is actually a love story that's has any chance at ever succeeding.
No, and I just worry, like I'm quite insulted if this is supposed to be, you know, the typical American business.
Oh yeah, that too.
Right? You know, because there's that thing where because they mentioned that she works for American Vogue, so there's that thing where if you've gotten to the top, if you've done well in business, it mustn't be because you work hard and you're smart. It must be because you slept your way to the top. All right.
You can at least have a personality if you do that.
Yeah. You must have a
personality. Part of the reason they choose to sleep away to the top is personality. So
something or other. But oh my gosh. But and the whole that it's I hate the scene in the cafe, and unfortunately the next scene is the one that every American girl of my age can recite by heart. You know, in the words of David Cassidy, while he was still with the Partridge Family, I think I love you. It is a romantic scene. It is as much as you can't stand her and you wonder why, you know, he's attracted to her. It is delivered well. It's a little fumbly. It's very charming in a way. And it is the scene that was played over and over again. And even to this day, 1 week from today, I'll be walking on the South Bank by the British Film Institute right there, and people will be stopping and they will be reenacting this scene, because that's what they do at that spot on the Thames. They just do.
I always laugh at, like, when I did, like me and my girlfriend had a laugh, because I didn't, like, of course it was years since I've seen it, is like when he leaves David again, who's been waiting there for ages. She has just left. I mean, like 20 seconds, and he has to run after her. And I'm like, how quickly did she walk?
I thought the same thing. Like, was she sprinting and then just slowed down? He is booking it to catch up to her.
I was like, wow, she's got some long legs there.
God's green earth, she was able to put that much distance between the two of you in that short of a time.
Well, we do walk
maybe the top of the escalator at most.
We East Coast girls walk very fast.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So yeah, it is. It's I found it's again a soppy, unromantic thing, to be honest. Sorry, I just gonna think just because of she just stands there and just
well, and
that was romantic. Thanks.
And that's my thing is like I do feel like Hugh is doing a good job in this scene. It just falls flat because it's being directed towards a flat performance. From
it's even like, you know, she's like when she kisses him like on the cheek and you're like, oh, that was lovely, or whatever, you're lovely. And he just nothing there. It's like if you even had a decency that you would like him, you know, like it's just giving me, look, I'm used you and abuse you, you're a bit of a twat, you know. That's what it comes out with. Like, well, thanks for that. Yeah, that's great. Bye now. That was it. And I'm like, oh,
he just comes off as a bad person in this. Of like, that's the perfect way to put it. Like, oh, you cute little thing, you love me. I was just using you for a couple shags, but see you later. Like,
but that's it. Like, she needs to think, because it's also the next scene is 1 month later is their wedding, Carrie's wedding. So it's like, she should like, look, I understand I might have the same feelings or whatever, or just bullshit. And then it's just a bad, like, I think dialogue of just that needed to have something like that. Look, I'm getting married in a month, just to drive that home to like, look, that we can't have anything. But yeah, it's again, but then again, he's late for this wedding again. So yeah, it's so we got a Scottish wedding now.
How is he late for a wedding that you probably had to go 5 hours on a train to get to? How is he still?
As somebody who you both know now, as somebody who is just habitually late all the time, I can understand to a degree how he would be late. I
call you
from
just
chronic...
in time. You're just in time.
Fair enough.
But my dad is like that. My dad is late for everything. He will be early getting ready and then end up being late. And I'm like, how has this happened? And like me, I'm like I've got it like military regiment. I'm always early. I'm always early.
Background.
Yeah. And then my dad, my dad's like, what's happened? And I'm like, and I was like, when I left you, you were ready to get in the car, and you ended up being an hour late. So he's like that. He's like, how did this happen? It's just like,
I will say it's not sleeping too late. In this movie, it seems to be he's a heavy sleeper, sleeps too late. For me, it's that I am just a horrendous judge of time. And I always think I can do this a little bit longer. I'll take care of this real quick. I'm a horrible judge of time in that regard. So I can understand a love for a
romantic movie.
Hey, Yanni. I can definitely understand a bit how he's always late. But to Sandy's point, like, again, it's like, dude, you got a 5-hour wedding. Like, you shouldn't be rushing out like that. It is a bit much.
Yeah, and then like having the creaky door to get into the wedding. Yeah, like that, so everybody. Like everybody knows you're late.
Turns around, they know you're late. Of course, it's going to be Charles. Of course. Now, the other thing is, so Carrie and she does explain it. Like, why is the whole group? Earlier we're like, why is she at all these weddings? And then why is his whole group of friends? Well, because she says she has no friends. She says it. She says, I have no friends. So bring your friends, because everyone else will be from Hamish. I'm going to say Seamus, from Hamish's side. So bring all your friends. So they're all legging it 5 hours or 6 hours on a train to go to Scotland. Oh, okay. That's what
Jack.
they do.
Hey, Jack.
But lucky thing they did, because we get a glimpse of our next American. We get a glimpse of.
But before I go there, before we get into that, I'm going to use it cliche, because we've had Somerset. We've had you had what the weddings need to be. So we had to have a Scottish wedding. It's like what would the Americans like? They want the countryside. They want a stately one. We need we need the Scottish wedding. And it's just like, oh, get the kilts. Yeah, it needs to have that, because that's the envisioned weddings that that's all we do in the UK. It's just like, oh, come on. But it's the weddings, the good weddings. But yeah, we get our Texan, I suppose, like that.
Chester the Texan. He does make a little entrance, and Scarlett, follows him as he goes.
What is it before? Like it's Gareth, isn't it? Because he's with Matthew, and they're at this time, gay marriage wasn't a thing. So he gives a very good speech, just like a very friendly. About don't worry, you all love is there, like that. And then he just now get sloshed and find somebody here, and it's like that. And then of course, you get the first scene is Tom completely screwing up by chatting up the vicar's missus. It's just brilliant. He's like, when I see him trying to drink his champagne, he's like, well, damn it, I finished. Like that. So
he's and then so of course cute. He's so lovable.
But that's it. He plays the bumping in full, but
Yes.
like a sweet. This, you know, you've got everybody has that mate. You're like, oh, what did you do? And you're like, you know, he didn't mean it, or they didn't mean it, but they just bumble through life and they get on really well. But then they just do silly things. And you're like, you're adorable because you didn't mean to do it, and everybody knows it was a mistake. But like, we all love you. Don't worry. And they're like, ooh, 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 like panicking. You're like, don't worry. We know who you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's an optimist and a romantic. He's out there just looking for love. And I what I liked about Gareth in this scene when he's doing that toast is this is kind of the first shift, because he's really driving a bit of the kind of mentality of the friend group of like, we're not getting married, it's not for us type of thing. And marriages, I think at some point he has this whole speech about how his theory on marriage is that it's really just two people who've been in a relationship for so long who eventually run out of things to say. So they find the eternal thing to talk about, which is marriage. So he's got a really cynical look on marriage and all that. But at this point, he's starting to change himself, where he's now like, you know what? Maybe we're all meant to get married. You're all going to find somebody, and we should all start finding. Enough going to other people's weddings. I want to go to the weddings of people I truly care about.
Yes.
And like you said, at this point, gay marriage, not, I don't believe legal in England at this point. I'm not entirely sure of the laws, but I would imagine given the 90s. So he knows it won't necessarily be for him and Matthew. And that's actually something that comes up in the beautiful eulogy Matthew delivers later. But it's that turn of like, if it's not going to be for me and Matthew, you know, we're good as we are, but I want to go to your guys' weddings. Like, I want you guys to find, you know, that love and essentially find what him and Matthew have, but just for yourself and go the distance of the marriage since you guys can type of thing. So it's a really cool shift in his character, which happens, you know, right before obviously what we're going to get into with his character, which I think sets up kind of, you know, the change in amongst the friends where they all, you know, we'll talk in the end. We'll get the kind of pictures of what they all end up doing at the end of the movie. But I think it's a driving force in all of them kind of changing their opinions on marriage, not just Charles, but Fiona and everybody else as well.
So the next mate, well, except for Scarlett going all in with the you have to have a 6'5", like one who looks like he's played American football all his life.
Yeah, you do. But don't, because
that's all you all look like that. That is the American man. That is it. That you all look like that. You know?
Absolutely. And we're all, you know, 5'10" blondes. But just don't skip over that, because that moment between her and him, you know, she's just kind of casual. And I think in her head, she's going to get blown off because she can't possibly, you know, he can't possibly be interested in her. And when he just looks at her and talks to her and is interested in her, her face changes. And she's like, oh my gosh, someone is interested in me, because she doubted herself. And she, you know, was just kind of silly. And I'm so happy for her in that moment, right? I think everybody, you just kind of see the change in her. And she's like,
oh no, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, she's just such an adorable character. I really liked her in this movie. I like the actress. I like the way she played it. She's an adorable character. And honestly, it made it that much more sad when I found out the reality of what happened to the poor actress. Just because she's so cute. She's adorable. She seems like a really good-hearted person, at least in terms of the character, especially as compared to Carrie in this movie. She just seemed like a sweet, innocent, genuine kind of person, and she's an adorable character, and she's finding love. So it's like, I agree. I was kind of like, oh, this is good. Like, she's not, it's not just a wedding hookup. Like, she actually thinks she's finding something here, and obviously we'll find out at the end that she does. But
she is the copy of as well. She gets, because I'm guessing like that. The same character is in Notting Hill.
Oh, think about it. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who is in with, I can't pronounce his name, Ralph, the Welsh guy who's in it. Literally, they hook up. That kind of fun is supposed to be, you know, free spirit and all that. Exactly the same character. That's why you like that, but they're just lovable characters. But it is nice. But
simple character too, like really simple.
I'm gonna do this right now, but because we're getting on to it.
So you were gonna say kind of the next couple of scenes are really like turn before we get to the big scene, but the next couple of scenes, you know, people are talking and things are changing. Gareth's given his, you know, go forth and I want to go to a wedding of someone I care about. Duckface is there, Fiona's there.
Well, so is it Duckface first? He bumps into Duckface. She's very nice. And then she's like, I've met somebody. How are you? I'm sorry for last time. She seems a bit more not so mental, let's say that. And then, of course, they have the first dance, Carrie and Hamish, and then Charles is just, his eyes are just fixated on her. And then, of course, Fiona puts her hand on his shoulder, backs off, lights a cigarette, and the kind of reveals in a friend, like as you would tell a friend, you're so stupid, it's always been you, you know, like that. Because he comes out, oh, you might meet somebody. He goes, I already have. Like how, like you just say again, it's like like Sandy said, he's it comes across a bit thick sometimes. How have like one, you've not noticed it, but one, none of your friends have gone, by the way, mate. Like, do you know she
her delivery of that line? It's you, Charlie. It's always been you. Oh my God. I mean, that one, she spoiler, she wins the BAFTA for this. That line won her the BAFTA. I mean, that was just, you feel the emotion. You feel a little bit of the silliness, like, duh, stupid. It's always been you. But you also,
but when she says that moment when she says it's always you, you feel that pain inside of her. Literally, you can see it. That delivery is just great. You're like, wow. And you can fit. And then she actually walks off into the other room, and then they play it really well because he realizes, oh my God, I'm a fool by not really seeing the hurt of me just doing these things. And he actually, for a moment, he comes across very humble, like, oh, I've been doing this to you, what Carrie's been doing to me, and it's like that. So it's it's a very good scene. It's very well acted.
No, I agree. And so it was interesting because at this point I'm like, I want so badly to be the love story of this movie to actually be him and Fiona and not him and Carrie. But the problem is if it ends up that way, it undercuts so much of what Fiona brings to this movie with the pain of, you know, having somebody so close to you that you love that you just won't ever be with because it's not reciprocated. So it's such a double-edged sword of like, I want so badly for them to be the two that get together by the end of this because I can actually believe a love story between the two of them. But at the same breath, it just kind of would take away from what her character brings to this movie too. So I guess that ultimately, I just wish the real love story that they went with was with a better actress.
Yes.
But yeah, I do love Fiona in this. I think she's great. I love her character and kind of what her character's got going on. And I think, you know, is it Kristen Scott Thomas?
Kristen Scott Thomas.
I think she does a fantastic job.
She is the bomb. She's
a very classical beauty English. If you had to say this is English, that's it. Like in English Patient, just like it's just she's a very beautiful woman. So it's to have them two next to each other. I'm like, well, I know what I'm picking. Because
you have a perfect spot here to be like, oh, I didn't know this. Let's give it a shot, see what happens. And instead, you're just infatuated with this horrible woman.
Exactly.
And I specifically continue to use the term infatuated because I do not believe this is a true love story. It feels like because of how bad she is, it just feels like he's infatuated with her and he's confusing it for love. Because I just don't know how you could be so in love with this person.
Yeah. So the next one, we go back to Gareth after they had their moment. He's like, I'm guessing this is where they were playing onto the things. I'm gonna say it, and you're gonna hate this, but I'm very much of like, all Americans are stupid.
Yeah.
Now, why I say that is because, do you know Oscar Wilde? Well, dear. And he's purposely gone out of his way to take the piss out of an American who's there. But
I think Matthew even says something like that, like, oh, he's probably out there terrorizing some of the Americans.
Yeah, and he's like that, and he's having a jolly old time, having his like a little dance with this like a middle-aged woman, like who's like, if you think Oscar Wilde's alive, well, you are dumb, to be honest. He's doing his. I suppose like he's dance like how we like Simon what's he Callow. Yeah, if he invented that dance, that's your dance. Like literally, he's like literally all over the place. He does it in every wedding, and he's loving it again. He's loving life. Of course that, and he gets interrupted because the bride wants to do a speech, but he's enjoying it, and there is also quite a very simple trick. They've separated Matthew away as well. He's talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
So they're separated at this right time, and he's gone to go and get a drink. The drink is next to Charles. So I'm going to let Sandy deliver the next scene.
Well, also let me just discuss about, the women giving the speech. Again, I feel like that's another American cliche, the working woman's going to get up and give a speech at her own wedding. No, that's maybe folks think that's an American thing. It's not. I think I was actually surprised at it. Her words, and she was very, kind to Hamish. He looked completely shocked and put off that she was standing up there to give a speech. And in the middle of it, though, you do see her and Charles exchange a few glances back and forth, and he's hangdog. Gareth slips away, steps into the next room, and again he is apart from Matthew and has obviously a massive heart attack. And those who are there, Fiona's there, Tom is there, they see him go down. They know, there's a doctor, doctors doing what they can. They know.
Well, this is where, like, just before this, like, I don't know if the writers made us not like Carrie. And this is why I think maybe it is, because, like, even at her end of the speech, she's given by the way, the person who said, if it doesn't work out, I'm always here. Knowing you're looking near enough at Charles, and then there's the death. So it's kind of like morbid, and like you're pissed off at what she just said, leading him on again. And then, of course, Gareth has a cardiac arrest. And then, they call a doctor, managed to find a doctor very quickly in the UK. Bloody hell.
I think there was a doctor there. Was there a doctor in the house? Like, talk about cliche. But no, and I agree. I think that line from her it's just that she's just a nasty person. She's not a likable person. And it's a little bit of that idea of, like, she knows she's in the room and all that. And, she does kind of know that he's infatuated with her and he'll always kind of be that thing. But it's also this idea of, like, she's got this control over him that she knows she has. And it's just so off-putting.
So terrible. And, and even the little smirk, and maybe in her, I don't know, in her twisted mind, well, next time I show up, he'll just be there anyway. He'll be there.
Right. Well, and that's what I mean by that, like, control. That, like, you shouldn't love having control over a human like that. Like, that's a horrible thing to do. Like, to be at your wedding day, manipulating and controlling another person and reveling in it, and kind of like almost boasting about it without people realizing what you're doing, other than you and him, is psychotic behavior. Like, that is not normal behavior.
Yeah.
There is nothing appealing about her. Nothing at all. And so now we have our funeral.
Well, I'm just going for, I'm really sorry, just before you go into the funeral, I really like it's acting without acting. The next bit by John Hannon is when he's listened to I'm guessing the speech at Hamish's speech, and he's clapping, and without, you do not need to hear the words that Charles is saying to him when he turns after going, just that drop of the shoulder. Again, it's great acting like that. It's just like he just, like, I'm hearing what you're saying. He just lost all the emotions, and, like, from what you've seen from him earlier, I just thought that little, that is like, 5 seconds of just him, what he's explaining, and he's just gone boom. Again, it's from the British actors, very well done.
No, I agree. It's that stomach drop feeling, when we all get that horrible, again, relatable thing where we've all had loss. We've all had these horrible, losses in life that absolutely suck. And when you hear about them, that sinking just feeling of, like you said, your face just goes, it looks visibly sad, but it also looks like nothing's behind the eyes, because you just, like, your whole world just shatters type of thing. And he does it so well. And I would like to point out, it's another great example from the opposite end of the spectrum of facial acting and physical acting, opposite of Rowan Atkinson, who's doing it in a brilliant comedic way earlier in the movie. He does it in this scene very quickly, very brief, but brilliantly done in the complete opposite end of the spectrum, which just very well done by, God, I'm forgetting the name of the actor now, but very well done by him.
Yeah,
Yes, John
I
Lennon.
think, like I said, he and Kristen Scott Thomas are just
Oh,
absolutely
and then he
fantastic.
follows it up with the next scene of the eulogy. I mean, he is.
Yeah.
I really, really liked him in this.
He gives a very personal, personal speech that obviously everyone in that church knows how much Matthew loved Gareth. And even a little later, the comment about, all of us trying to find true love, and it was right here in our midst. It was Matthew and Gareth, and they were the model of true love.
They're your favorite couple. They are your favorite couple in the
100%.
movie.
I think Hugh even says, and might be here, might be later, but he says something along the lines of like, who knew that we had a married couple among us this entire time?
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, you did. And again, the eulogy is great. I believe he's copying somebody else's speech, but it's a beautiful choice. He delivers it beautifully. The emotion in his face during it opens it up with the, I do like how they kind of touch on the idea of, at this point in time, gay marriage not necessarily being legal and maybe not necessarily being, as welcome and as kind of standard as it is today, where the priest even announced him as like his closest friend, and he says something along the lines of like, he always knew it would be Gareth always knew like this would be the ceremony he'd get in a church, not the wedding. Like the little ways they subtly touch on that, I think were really socially relevant at the time. And looking back on it now as kind of a glimpse of history to a degree, because this was 30 years ago, it's kind of, I just thought it was very well done and interesting. So he's like, there was a time when it wasn't accepted and not legal.
But I feel like now, like, I think like this is showed like it's accepted to the friends. There's no like animosity with the family.
Yeah.
Even
his mum, they all knew.
Everybody knows. It's
more from the legal side of things.
But this is where I'm going to go for like modern. This is how to do. This is not your main cast. This is to show a very well done homosexual relationship. This is very done because you end up loving the both couples, and when Gareth dies, you're pissed off. You are pissed off because they were a great couple, and you're really upset for Matthew. And you're saying he's usually good because they're both likable characters. Yeah, they're gay. Who gives a shit? And they're just likable. And that's the thing is they don't make it, how they do it today. It's like they just misinterpreted. Do you know what these two people were? They were human beings before their sexuality. And that's what works in this movie, because they're doing their things. Who cares what they do in the bedroom? Because you only have one sex scene. Like, well, except for two, like with the moaning. But
you got one that goes on and on and on.
But it's not about that. It's about their love for each other. I don't need to know. And that's how, like modern, they just miss that mark of not portraying a couple, any kind of couple, just as humans,
just as real people who love
real
each
people.
Other.
They all the friends are heterosexual, but they still like them, and they still are and
it's not a big deal. They don't make a big deal about it. It's not something. It's just
it's who you are.
It's like you said, right?
Who cares?
It's who they are. Who cares? And you like them. You like the characters for who they are. And you love their relationship for how much you can tell they love one another. I mean, it works brilliantly. And they're, like you said, they're the best couple in the whole thing.
Because after this, I must say,
they're total opposites. Gareth is chaos and animation, and Matthew is the lightning rod. Essentially, he's the lightning rod to the chaos of the whole friend group, but also of Gareth. And the combination of the two it works brilliantly. They're such likable characters, such a likable couple. And it's not beating you over the head with their sexuality. It's just displaying love and humanity and love between two humans. It's really well done.
Yeah, but I like this because it makes you in the movie as well that you miss Gareth in the movie. From this point, you miss him.
Really do.
It's great because he has such an impact of like he doesn't have much delivery and lines. He had like except for that one little speech, but he's how he is. I'm the presence. Yeah, he's the character that you kind of miss. Yeah, he's
You do. And the quote is that Matthew states during the eulogy that Jay alluded to was that Gareth always said he preferred funerals to weddings because he felt that it was the one ceremony he would have a chance to participate in, because he would not be in a wedding, but he would someday be in a funeral. The eulogy part is amazing. And then we get to W.H. Auden's poem. which is called The Funeral Blues, also known as Stop All the Clocks. And again, this and the scene on the river are often quoted and clipped
this
as
is a beautiful scene.
the pivotal scenes. And again, John Hannah, this is why he won the BAFTA. Or did he? No, he did. Oops, he didn't win the BAFTA, but he was nominated. He was nominated for supporting actor. The poem itself is absolutely beautiful. I will not read it. I have it in front of me, but I do want to just talk about, if you listen to the poem a few times or read it, it is structured in a really interesting way, sort of in, I guess, W.H. Auden's version of the phases of grief, because the first paragraph is the stop all the clocks, cut off the phone, prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone. And then there's more. That paragraph is the announcement that, hey, pay attention, someone's died. The second paragraph is the let airplanes circle moaning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message, he is dead. That's the direction. So we've had the announcement that someone's dead. Now you're being given direction of what to do now. So the airplane should scribble the sign, put the crepe bows around the white necks of the public doves, let the traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. So that's like, okay, here's what we do. Here's how we react when we hear that someone is dead. We put on black, and we do all these things. The third paragraph for me is just hits home. He was my north, my south, my east, my west, my working week, and my Sunday rest. This is the proclamation of how the death has impacted the writer. This is how it impacts me. And then the final paragraph, and there's more to it. I'm just reading little clips, but the final paragraph is, the stars are not wanted now. Put out everyone. Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun. Pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood. For nothing now can ever come to any good. That's grief. So we've gone from, the announcement, the direction, the proclamation, and the absolute mourning, the grief that, nothing's going to be the same ever again. I had never, and we had done British literature in school, but I didn't know who W.H. Auden was. And after seeing the film as a teenager, boy, I scooped up all the W.H. Auden I could find, because I absolutely love the writing style. It's so hard hitting and these are 4 short paragraphs, but oh my gosh, they just completely hit. And what a perfect choice. This poem was written in 1936. So someone had said once, oh, the poem that was written for the film. Oh my gosh, smack those people. This poem was around since 1936. And I'm sure perhaps read at funerals and more known in the UK and than over here. But gosh, what a scene. And then
it's again the delivery. It hits you. It hits you.
So good. Well, and that's what I was alluding to earlier, which kind of makes the difference between your cheesy rom-coms and your really good ones that stand out as just quality movies, is the emotional weight they put in some of these scenes is so good, and it just hits you right in the heart, right at home, and it gets you legitimately sad. Like, there was a sad scene, and hearing the way he's describing it and the delivery, all of it was brilliant. And immediately you start, my thought is like, unfortunately, it just went straight to like, oh my God, if I lost, my wife, I could see this being so relatable to me, because it just, all those things about the person you love, your significant other, being the whole world to you, and then losing them is just, again, it's so damn relatable. And this movie is so damn relatable. And once again, we're seeing the heart of this movie come from the friend group. It's not really the love affair, literally love affair with the main 2 characters. It's Fiona confessing her love to Charles. It's his roommate, and kind of that little scene we talked about with the Texan guy, and that little bit of heart that's there. It's even the old lady and Fiona speaking at the table, like all those little bits of emotional impact. The heart of the movie is really in this friendship and how it all turns out for them.
Yeah, because even like you say, not about things. It's like when you go out, the funeral's finished quite Don't you see much more about it? And then he bumps into Carrie again. All the rest of the friend group are doing, emotional friend group, and he bumps into Carrie. Okay, it was her wedding. That might be why she's there. But she just makes her delivery of the lines. It's about me again. I'm like, it just really annoys me.
Screeching halt. And here, like you said, there's Fiona and Scarlett comforting each other. There's Gareth's parents. And the absolute grief on their faces. And there's Tom saying something to the effect of, one of them saying, it was Tom, I hope I, die before my children. I wouldn't want to have to think about losing a child. Oh my gosh.
And I like that because it shows that there's more. Tom's not the dolt that he's, presented to be in this. Like he's a good, and we see it again when he has that conversation with Charles that leads to the duck-faced wedding, when he's talking about like, I don't think love is this thunderbolt like they say in the movies. Like I think it's just, settling down, finding somebody that you love, that you can spend your time with. And like it's the most realistic depiction of love in these types of movies, because in these movies, they always depict love as this time stands still, all this kind of stuff, that's this once in a lifetime, you just know it when you feel it thing, which is true to a degree, but not in the way I feel like they describe it in Hollywood. Love is very different from that. Finding the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with is very different than this thunderbolt type thing they try to go with in a lot of these movies. And Tom, to me, nails it. It is about just finding somebody you love, finding somebody once you're with, you can't imagine life without. It's not always this moment of, I walked in the room and I knew she would be my wife, or I knew he would be my husband, whatever it is. It's more along the lines of like, you slowly and gradually find out, I don't want to live the rest of my life without this person. So I really love Tom's point here, because I think being, in my early 20s, I used to always, I don't know, all these people, how do they get married, all this kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of like the Hugh Grant character and their friend group in this. I think most of us are at that point, because we're not always thinking of marriage, these things. And it is that idea of like, I don't know, man, I don't think I'm going to find this feeling of love and across the room, love at first sight kind of stuff. I'm like, that crap's made up for the movies. And then you get older and you find yourself in a spot of true love and marriage and all that, where you're like, oh, so this is what it actually is. So I liked how Tom kind of taught that to Charles, and you kind of thought it was going that way. And then we circle back to the kind of Hollywood nature of storytelling. Although this isn't Hollywood.
Of course.
So now we go into our last wedding that is not revealed as such. We just get Charles and it's hidden by a rose. And then of course I like it because they play a trick. They kind of thing. So we get the alarms go off, and all the alarms go off, and he's like, oh, what's going on? And Tom's going, who's with him? Is like, well, we knew you're going to be late. So then Matthew turns up, who we find out is now going to be the best man, devil of things. And he said, oh, it's such and such time. He goes into a panic. He's like, oh my God, I'm going to be late. So he vanishes off. And then they're, of course, all packed into the back of the Land Rover. And he jumps out and he's like, what is the time? And he goes, you really honestly the time? And then he goes, it's 10 to 9. And then he's like, no, well, 10 to 8 or whatever it is. And he rushes out, and then the realization of things like that. I like that. It's good. And then of course they get into the wedding. And again, they do little quirky things. Again, we see the mad uncle. It's like bride or groom. And he's like, what?
Oh, this was brilliant.
Obvious
that I'm neither.
Yeah, I'm gonna be neither. So like that. Yeah, I like it again. It's just that. Yeah,
it's funny how he just kind of keeps popping up again to just random moments of comedy. I did like his addition to this movie.
Yeah. And then you get the Thunderbolt moment with Tom, who unfortunately is his second cousin.
Apparently in England, that's an okay thing. Distant cousin.
Second in England and Alabama.
Yeah, there you go.
It's frowned upon, you know.
And for the record, I'm kidding. People from England and from Alabama. I'm only kidding.
Alabama. We are sorry. We do love all of you.
But yeah, and again, it's like, it's almost like how you'd kind of expect Tom's story to end. To be honest, I can't say that I was predicting it. When it happens, you're kind of like, yeah, this checks out.
Yeah. So yeah, and then of course, So he's in the thing, and why? Who invited Carrie?
So I don't even think she was invited. I think she's such a narcissist.
She just showed
She
up.
shows up to
Yeah,
just
because she's
spoil
not in
his wedding.
She's not. She doesn't
she's
look
not-
dressed
Nope.
for a wedding.
Nope.
Everybody else is, dressed up for a wedding. They're like, everybody's got their hats on and all that. The women are looking prim and proper.
And
looking.
she would be
I know
wearing a
she's
hat
like
and
they're
all
wearing
that.
this grayish, brownish,
It
khaki
looked
kind
like
of outfit.
sweatsuit, like
Yeah,
it looked like a sweatsuit, but designed to be more of like a blazer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's not like, and then her delivery is not like, oh, good luck. I bet you got nerves. I know how you go through it. Anyway, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. And then just play it cool. It's a game. It's all about me. It's me.
How's Hamish?
It's
I
specifically to
know.
come here and tell him that she's divorced. Like you said, it's not about, oh, I really wanted to
I'm here to support
you
you.
and give you some advice. None of that. I came here to tell you on your wedding day, I got divorced. You selfish word I'm not going to say on YouTube.
But she deserves
See you
it.
next Tuesday.
It's a lot more common in your culture than American culture.
We don't get to say that.
Only the Brits can say it, and especially in London, I can say it very well.
There you go.
Sorry,
she's
YouTube, but I won't.
such a narcissistic person. The character is awful. She is awful.
Yeah, but the thing is,
awfully active.
It's like she was like Hamish. She even says like, I shouldn't have married somebody that was 3 times my age. I think she even says that. I'm like, well, you married her, then
the money.
Just money. Yes, you like. I stood out a year. Once that year was done, we're getting divorced or whatever. For like how long it is to get that.
We skipped the prenup. We just wanted to get the money. Now I got my hooks in it.
Got the money. Now we can move on. Yeah,
but she wants the sob story. Oh, I shouldn't have married. Oh, shut up! You knew what you were doing, you idiot. I cannot stand this character.
And then she just like, it's literally just throws the grenade in again to this person. She knows it was infatuated things. He might be completely now in love with Duckface, as she's known.
For the record, I don't know why she's called Duckface. I thought she was a very pretty woman. I assume it just comes from Fiona's jealousy.
Yeah, but that's it. She's known as that. And I said that. I did say that.
Pretty.
Yeah, like as the actress, she must be like, I've got to be known as Duckface. Hello.
Fiona did that.
And maybe that's why Fiona does it, because of all his exes. I think she's the prettiest, to be honest. So maybe that's why she hops on her as the Duckface versus the other ones like Miss Piggy and all that. I found her to be the most attractive of all his exes.
Again, she just throws the grenade in there, all about me. She doesn't know if like the person Charles is marrying, they completely since she's been married, they've completely head over heels. But she had to put that little knife in to go, by the way, I'm here. That puts a thing, of course, there's a delay to the wedding. Charles goes off into the kind of back where the vicar is, and then bugger in the most very quintessential English accent, let's say that. And I like the
exercises, vocal
Yes,
exercises.
well, I do
says,
that.
I use hallelujah.
Like that. And it's good. And then of course, David, his brother, with Matthew, they kind of Matthew kind of goes through. You have 3 options. Gives him the 2 of like, you can stay and get married, or you can run out. I can't think of the third.
Can't think of it.
And then, of course, then it goes to the wedding. We start the wedding off. We see from the first couple, they like the kids are crying. And the first wedding, they've got now 2 young ones, nearly a newborn, and then, like we got a little toddler. And then as you do, this is very Hollywood. If anybody needs to say something after it gets out there, you must declare it now. And then I think they does get knock or goes.
He bangs on something.
Yeah. And then, of course, it's David who starts sign language to Charles.
And he specifically says, I've thought of a third option.
Yeah.
And it's literally the first option, just translating it through David, which I'm like, this is still just the same first option of just basically calling it off. It's just doing it instead of you directly doing it. You're reading it, not reading it. You're signing it through. No, you're translating the sign language from your brother. That's the way to say it.
It's making like David's. The third option was, I will take the punishment of getting you to read it out,
but it's
because
like
it's my words, but
yeah,
it's
like
you're
not
saying it, so
really.
it's still you. And it's like it doesn't. It's so a Hollywood script. This
Yeah.
bit, it's like they got, oh, how can we do it without making him go bye and leaving him there? And it's the same option. It's like that.
It's literally the same option, just delivered slightly differently. And I'm not sure that it's delivered in any easier or better way that takes Charles out of the spotlight for doing something horrible, which is leaving somebody at the altar. But
he gets to that point. And I think it's bad because, again, you've seen like how much of an idiot, thick, a bit of a twat because of what Tom said. Hugh's just gone back to an ex. And it's just like like they're still young. They're not like they're not old.
They're not
they're
not in their last. Yeah, it's not their last chance. For goodness.
Yeah, exactly. They're not like I suppose it's more prevalent to women. I'm in my 40s, menopause is going to come up. Blah blah blah. I need this last chance. Grabbing onto that. He's still a young guy. He's still like like that. They're like, probably when this was filmed, I bet you they were in there like late 20s, 30s, most of them. It's just him to do that, to like, it makes you feel sorry for Duckface, even though the first point of when you see her, she's a bit of a psycho. You're like that, and like we'll get on it a little bit later, but you're just like, oh. And then of course you get we gotta get a very quick wrap up. I didn't remember when I first watched this how quick this next wrap up is.
And then we get the absolute worst. Well, so the wedding's been halted, and with the vicar saying, the David says for Charles to say, I believe that the groom is in love with someone else, and the vicar says, are you, Charles? Do you, Charles? Do you love someone else? Do you? And then he says very sheepishly and looks in Henrietta's eyes and says, I do. And again, I guess this is for the Americans, typical fashion, hauls off and decks him.
Right.
He goes down to the floor. And then
I did kind of like how they used I do there, because it's like, the irony of I do should be a great thing to say there. And in this case, it's the total opposite. So I did kind of like that. I thought it was clever.
Yeah, I did too. And then he's back at the flat, and David feels really bad.
Yeah.
And
Tom looks just mortified. Even Fiona's like stressed, smoking in the back, like, dude, what the hell did you just do?
And but Charles is signing to David things that are not being said to make David feel bad.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
they all blame you.
Yeah.
I think David asks through sign of like, I feel bad. I feel like this is my fault. And Charles might say it to the group so that they know what he's saying. And they're all just like, no, David, this is not your fault. Not your fault at all. And Hugh just signs back, oh, they all blame you.
They all blame you.
Yeah, it's quite funny. It's what you would say to a brother, wouldn't it? It would be.
It is.
Again, super relatable.
It is. And you know what? And he knows at the end of the day, he's more upset, not because he's lost Henrietta. He's more upset because he knows there's hell to pay, probably for the rest of his life, from Henrietta for everything, that's gone wrong. And then the absolute worst scene in this entire film on
cue
so
the
many
rain.
levels.
We need the rain.
A knock at the door, and there she is. They're talking, and she's here, and she says, I don't know why I'm here. And
because it's about me. It's about me.
Yeah,
it's not about you. How do you feel?
This woman is insufferable.
The whole speech about, should we go in? Shouldn't we go in? And he gives the whole speech about, do you think you could spend the rest of your life not marrying me, not being married to me? And she does. She does. She says, I do. And he says, let's get in from out of the rain. And she says, is it still raining? I hadn't noticed. The worst delivery of the worst line in this film. Maybe perhaps up there with the worst delivery of the worst line in
you've not been
history.
to the UK. Sandy,
No,
you have. British weather,
Doesn't rain
when
like
it
that.
rains, it's cold. When it rains, also it's freezing. Everybody runs for cover. It's not like, you know, like,
don't you guys not have sun?
No, we don't. Like, if you're lucky, like what
doesn't
an hour
downpour.
for 1 month of 1 day in the year. That's it. But like, it's not like, you know, like we get, you know, like
That's
them.
like a Florida downpour.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
That's
I was gonna say that
Yeah,
Florida.
this is
even
like
when you're out,
torrential.
you're like, oh, this is warm, like Florida rain. Like even if you have like a monsoon in Thailand, you're like, oh, this is warm rain. It's bitter. It's cold. Everything starts to like really start to itch and hurt because it's that cold. Him like having that shirt that goes see-through, as I got the picture there, and she's drenched. No, the last thing I want to do is kiss somebody because I'm like, it's literally going to be coming out my nose.
My teeth would be
It's
shivering.
literally, yeah, you'd be like, what's going on? You're like, oh, it's not. It's. I know what they were trying to do with the romantic. I've come here.
Yeah,
in the
rain
weather.
and the
Yeah,
and we see that done. We'll see that be done. I talk another cliche there for sure. You see that done in other movies, The Notebook, and all these movies to come, and movies before it too. So
yeah, but I must say, when like this, I forgot. This is literally near enough, except for we got a little bit. This is the end of the movie.
Yeah,
I really forgot. I was like, they like pan up into the sky, and then we get
the lightning.
Yeah, the lightning, and then we get kind of a through, and I've got it up here because of things like that. So you get actually Duckface, she's known to gets married. She's now married to a Grenadier Guard. I'm guessing an officer.
And I actually walked away from that picture thinking, good for her. Good for her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He was a bit of a head case or portrayed to be one in the beginning, but like, not for nothing. After this whole movie of liking Hugh Grant, he kind of goes out on a note of being an asshole because that was a horrible thing to do to somebody. So like all this good, charming character goes right out the window. Now he's in the same bucket with God, what is it? Carrie. Like you're both crappy people. You deserve each other.
Yeah. So the next one after that, we get David is now married to Fiona. And then you get I'm gonna have to go on. It's gonna carry on. Yeah, that's it. Scarlett is actually married to our Texan, who like that. And we forgot one of the jokes he said is, "My name's Red." Didn't he? That was one of the jokes he pulled. So from that Scarlett O'Hare, I think she even says it. That he says like my name's Red, and then you get, of course, Tom is married like in his and I like it because it's a bit of a backdrop of when Carrie is doing the dress shopping because she's like Bo Peep, and then he pans out. And then you realize, oh, you're bloody rich. Like that. I was like that.
Richest family in England.
Of
course, there's the Queen.
That Branson bloke.
Yeah. And then you get and I thought the next scene is the nicest scene because Matthew's met somebody else.
Yes, I did like that.
Yeah.
But it still hurt a little bit because you wanted it to be Gareth, but you were happy he moved on.
Yeah, you're like, oh, he's met somebody else, really cool. And then you get a really silly scene.
I love it. I'm sorry, but
do you? Oh my god!
Because they were divorced at this time. It was before Princess Di passed away. Would have passed away 3 years later.
Oh my god!
I couldn't work
as
out.
Always,
I'm
watching it right now.
I knew how they. I couldn't work out when she died. I was like, did she die?
They were separated in 93.
16.
They were actually, I think they were officially divorced in 95, but they were separated. So I like Charles and Fiona. I mean, how
I'm going to be honest. I didn't even pick up on that. As always, I have it playing beside my second monitor here just for the visual cues. And we happened to be timed up perfectly this entire review, by the way, 2 hours, perfect. Cause we were just getting to the point of those pictures. And I didn't even realize that that's who she was with. I kind of like that skipped right over me. So I was too busy thinking about because Matthew's picture comes up right before Fiona's of who she is.
You're so young, you don't remember. You weren't around for the whole Princess Di.
By the time I was able to even understand who she was in the whole scenario, I was already. It was years after it had already happened.
Sorry, can I just butt in here because I'm going to out somebody? My girlfriend is texting me what we are saying about the film. Just do it in chat. I'm going to out here. She's texting me like she's forgot. So I'm going to out you right now because I'm guessing you forgot how to do it.
I did.
But yeah,
But
So,
yeah, no, and just seeing the picture now, I'm like, oh, I didn't even pick up on that last night. I was also, this was about 2 a.m. last night, so fair enough. It slipped right past me, but I didn't even catch that one till now.
And then the next scene, I just don't believe. I'm guessing it's not their kid. That's all I have to say, because you got Carrie and Charles, and they're with a kid. It's like
and
that.
They decided to not get married because they're both so against Oh, shut up! The two of yous. Shut up. They're not married, but they had a kid, and they're together. They said, "I do" to not be married forever. Like, oh my god, you two are just the worst. and unfortunately for him, he doesn't become part of her little kind of level of. I don't want to say, well, for her, it's disgust. He doesn't quite reach the level of disgust, but that leaving her at the altar thing really brought him down from charming, super likable character to like, maybe he does deserve to be with Carrie. And of course, they have the picture with their kid. And I agree. That one was like, you can miss me with that. I'm not interested. I was more interested in Matthew and Fiona and all them than I was to see them with the kid.
So that's it. So let's go. I'm going to have to say, Sandy, you've got to go first. Final thoughts, because it was your pick, synopsis, your scores, your recommendations before anybody else. Because I think Jay, might be on a little bit my sided, a little bit from what he's been saying, but go.
So remember, we want to look at the totality of the film here, because there are so many stories, and I know Charles and Carrie are the main story here, but there are so many other amazing stories and performances here. But before I give you my opinion, let's look at the opinion of the, money talks. Mm-hmm. This film was made for $4.4 million and made $245 million. So it made almost 50 times the investment on this film. Yeah. Now there are films that made more. I think it's ranked like 22nd in terms of return on investment of all time. And it's the Americans lapped this film up. It won the BAFTA for Best Film, Best Director, Best Actor for Hugh Grant, Best Supporting Actress for Kristen Scott Thomas, as she should have, and it received 2 Oscar nominations, one of which was for Best Film, 9 other BAFTA nominations, mostly for Supporting Actor and Supporting Actress. So most of the main cast was also nominated. And there was a really nice reunion. And unfortunately, I know the Red Nose Day stuff here in America, you just can't find it. Like you can't get it on YouTube. But there was a reunion in 2019 that was really lovely. And there was also a Love Actually reunion, I guess, a few years after that I just love. So I will say, I agree with your conclusions about Carrie and about Hugh Grant's character and about.
Sorry, can I just stop you just there? Because you forgot one thing about the numbers. Is wet, wet, wet. Oh, Love is all around. The end song I actually just looked up. It is the 3rd longest song ever. 15 weeks at #1 with Love is All Around in 1994.
Is it really?
It's the joint 3rd. It's literally, I hate that bloody song. Because we nearly enough had back to back, because you had literally Bryan Adams, what's the name with
Everything I Do.
And then literally he went on to Wet, 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 and that song, jeez.
Every wedding here in America was Everything I Do for You.
Yes. I had many of my older cousins. I remember being a kid going to those weddings, and each time being like, oh, wasn't that the last one's wedding song? And to the point where like my mother would play it in the car, I'd always remember like, oh, this reminds me of the weddings. It was massive at that time. And it stayed, because this is 94. You're talking, I'm probably like looking at 2001, 2, 3, 4, like this age is when I'm hearing it, all these weddings. So it went 10 years of like strong of being an all over the place wedding song.
Well, just out of fact, so the 18 weeks, Frankie Lane with I Believe in 1953, then Bryan Adams, Everything I Do for You in 1991, and then Wet, Wet, Wet is Love Is All Around 1994 is joint with Drake, One Dance from 2016. There you go. And then Queen because it was redone thing 14 weeks. Bohemian Rhapsody. They're the UK ones.
Yeah.
So you can say it's always on.
This song wasn't released in the United States.
Wasn't it?
I'm not familiar with this song.
Yeah, I only know it from this
Love
film.
is all around us. I feel it in the air. Like that.
No,
I only know it from
Love Actually.
In Lux, I was going to say, and then it's the Bill Nighy song in Love Actually.
Yes.
So Richard
Curtis
obviously likes the music. The music in the film was decent. You know, we got the Crocodile Rock in there. It was probably, you know, representative of the time. But I give, you know, I'll just go to my rating and then say why. So I give this film a 7. That probably seems high based on everything we've been talking about.
Going to be but Sandy,
shush.
She said it's harsh. I'm in bed on my phone, not on my iPad. I don't know how to type.
And I want to hear Jade's rating too. But I look at the totality of all the stories. This is an ensemble cast, and it really is an ensemble movie. And there are so many stories that are just very moving and well done, like Fiona's story, like Gareth and Matthew, you know, like even Serena and David. There's so many other good stories that and Scarlett at the end. These two bumbleheads, I think they're the unifying factor among better relationships that we're exposed to in this film. And I give it a 7 for that. I give it a 7 for how it makes me feel, because this is one of those films that was, you know, just important to me growing up. And I never skip it. If I run across it on one of our, you know, channels that runs movies, I always will stop and watch it. This is for me, this is like a good summer movie, whereas Love Actually is one of those we were talking before about non-traditional Christmas movies that aren't Christmas. Love Actually is definitely a Christmas movie. But yeah, you know, it's for as frustrating as it is, there's so much to this film to feel good about. That's what gives me that's why I give it a 7.
No, I think that's pretty reasonable score. And I'll jump into mine, I guess, now. So I actually really, really like this movie. I was happy I finally got the chance all these years later to sit down and truly watch it beginning to end. There's a lot to like about this. You know, the characters. I love the friend group. I loved all the different dynamics. No two friends in that group are the same. They are all so different from one another, yet all so caring, so loving, and really, truly, to me, is the heart of this movie, the core of it for sure. I think fundamentally, it's a pretty strong. It's a sound movie. You know, it's not breaking down, you know, Oscar nom type doors for. Well, I guess actually it did get Oscar noms, but in terms of, you know, the writing's nothing too crazy, too complicated. It is a fairly. There are a lot of moving parts to the story that was, I think, consistently written and well done. You know, it's not a complex story, but there are a lot of moving parts to it with all these different characters and relationships, and they do a good job at feeling like you get a character arc and closure for each one of them, especially with the photos at the end. So they do really well with balancing all that. The acting, pretty good across the board. You know, again, nothing that you're. Well, no, there are a few. Kristen Scott, is it Scott Thomas? Scott.
Yep.
She's really good in it. So there are a few acting performances that stand out. But in general, you know, good acting across the board. Some a little bit more standout, some just good, except for obviously, you know, I'll get to her in a minute. So
I'll get to her in a minute.
Fundamentally sound in acting, writing, you know, cinematography, thought looked good. Again, nothing crazy, nothing that you're like, oh my God, this is like Dune or something like that. It's shot well. Everything looks great. So sound in that regard, pretty good in the acting. I liked the story. I thought it was a fun story to go along with for the most part. I want to give this a better grade than I'm going to give it, only because Andie MacDowell and the character of Carrie just sucked the life out of this movie. She's just unlikable. It makes me not believe the love story between Hugh Grant and her. And again, Hugh Grant does a good job throughout this entire movie of putting out this relatable, and that's another reason I like it, is the relatability of all of them, the characters, the story, the happenings, all of it. But him specifically, he's putting forth this pretty good effort in this kind of relatable love story. He's just working opposite of thin air. I mean, she's just nothing in this movie. She's so wood and so bland, and her character is so narcissistic and awful that it ruined the love story to me. And for me, the love was really about the friendship. So that was my own way to kind of take a different story out of it than I think what they were intending to. And then again, that last final action of Hugh Grant's character brings his character down from a good place that I had him at to like, man, that was a really crappy move. I do like how they handled it with all the friends kind of acknowledging like, dude, that was pretty messed up what you just did. And even he's sitting there feeling like, what the hell did I just do to that poor girl? Like, I liked how they balanced it by admitting it was a crappy thing to do, and he's feeling the weight and the guilt of it. So is his brother for even like, kind of making that whole thing happen. But it still was just like, but damn, dude, like that was just such a crappy move. So it brings him down a little bit, but not nearly as down as she is for me. She really is just the fault of the movie. Everything else I really liked. She's the fault of it, unfortunately. So I give it a strong 6. I want to give it. If it was a better love story between Hugh and whoever would be acting across from him in terms of acting and in the creation of that character and the story arc of that character, I could see myself higher at about a 7, because I just really did like this movie. I liked the theme. I liked the lightness of it. I liked how it mixed heavy heart with light heart. She just sucked the life out of it for me, at least by a whole number grade. So I'm going to settle on a strong 6. I would recommend it. I think you should still watch it. I think there are so many good things to take from it that you'll like and enjoy and are, heartwarming. And I could see this being something I watch again in the future. If like we always say, I know we don't flick through the channels anymore, but I could see myself stopping on this one to watch more of it. It's a heartwarming movie in many ways. And I would like to try to get my wife to watch it. We might pick it on a movie night one night and just see, if she likes it, because I really, really did enjoy it. I wanted to enjoy it more, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just, she's just brutal in this. So that's about where I fall. It is a recommend. I do think it's a good movie. Unfortunately, I have to put it at about a 6. I can't go higher than that because Andie MacDowell's performance is just in her character, which that part is out of her hands. That's how they wrote it.
Right.
But her character and her acting just brings the movie down quite a bit.
So on to the Brit.
There we go.
Now, I must have seen this much later, like not 94. I must have seen it in 96. Must be 96. And I probably saw it again in my 20s. It must have been on terrestrial TV somewhere. And I remember not liking it because it's a British made movie, not a British movie. Everything's a cliche. The funny bits are set up like it should be with a British movie. It's supposed to be a sweet, hearted, light-hearted comedy movie, and you do laugh. And I must say, like, it still gives you the giggles, the little bits, what they are set up for, and you can get that. You can't have a romantic movie with the main romantic lead so horrible. Absolutely, she is diabolically bad in this movie, but to the point where you're rooting for other women to get your lead man. You're like, you want Fiona to win, even like if Scarlett was like, they got together, Duckface got together with Hugh Grant, it would be a better option than the person you're supposed to be rooting for is the American. Now, I'm not dissing you guys at all, but she's such a horrible person, and she's supposed to be the nuance of this cross the pond romance. It's supposed to be romantic. It's like it's not like a Notting Hill where you kind of like Julia Roberts' character at the end. It's like that. This, you just hate her presence on screen so much, and it's like the people you like don't have enough screen time, because if you had this movie in the presence of what it was, and they told a story, and the B characters was Hugh Grant and Andie MacDowell, I would like it more because the other characters around it are more interesting.
100%.
Because you hate Hugh Grant because he gets manipulated so much, and then you get like Andie MacDowell's character. It's just like, oh yes, I did mess up there, but slip of the tongue because I'm watching a slut, and that's the thing is like you're
as described in the movie.
Yeah, but that's the thing, you're portraying this like slut, and it was quite good because my girlfriend's got a lower score than I did. Is like she said, if you flipped it and it was Hugh Grant's character doing what Andie MacDowell's character was doing, oh, what a player! He would be a player. You would hate him. Yeah, yeah, because he's just like. But to flip it around, it's okay. So it's just because how British friendships work. It just doesn't make sense. The position is just, as I say, like, sorry, Sandy, it's so cliche. It's like if it would be as if, you know, oh, you do like a I don't know, Jay, you said it, Alabama, and then some Brit was, you had to explain what Alabama in the head to other people, but Alabama people be like, we're not all like that. This is what this feels like. What you're watching what people don't talk like this, people don't act like this, and like the friendship group is very weird because you've got Hugh Grant who lives in London. Okay, maybe he lived in the home counties at one point and he's a bit rich, that's good, but then you've got Gareth's character with a Scot. You know, he's a posh Scot, but he's still a posh Matthew. But then he's in Kent or Dagenham area because you can see the Queen Elizabeth Bridge there. So it's just a bit off. So why do they know it? They live over there, and they live like 20 miles away. And then Tom blatantly lives in like Hampshire or something like that, but he's a manor house. It's just like, how are they friends? It's like that, and then they have the same accent, and I love it. I really do. You know, damn it, bugger that. You know, like it's just like that. Like like how they act, except for the Americans, are great. Like you got to go and like, I don't like how they portray Hugh Grant because he's a bumbling idiot. He's a fool. He's literally like, and I think that's point like his quirk. Oh, look at the quirk. I'm gonna say it. Oh, look at the English. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. Oh, what? And then everybody else is smart. Everybody else is friendship like that. And then you've got this supporting cast who are brilliant. Every person is that. And then you have this diabolical. It's like Andie MacDowell got given the money and loads of Valium and went act. Yeah, she is rough. So bad in this. It makes it rough to watch. And I'm like, oh, I just like now.
It's like you just want her off screen, right? Like it's like, you just give me more of everybody else but her.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, you're telling me he just can't find anybody else. Literally, there's got to be, and it's a long period of time. You know, like they give the like 2 months, 3 months, a year, whatever, later, and then you're like, there must be something bad. But that is the whole point. They're trying to swing on to this American British relationship, English relationship, like to give to the Americans. Oh, you know, and it just doesn't hit home. But I could get it if Andie MacDowell had a better acted. Like you could take that. Oh, I just don't like the storyline. It's cliche. If the lead actress was good in it, she's so terribly bad. It's just not plausible to anybody that you fall in love. That's I think Jay said it multiple times. It's not a love story. It turns into be, oh, this is a bit of a thick man. It's just like you.
He's just infatuated.
Yeah. He's being played.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's it. And like at the end, they do the. I'm guessing maybe they rewatched it. You know, like the end bits with the weddings and all that, like the clips. They just it's like they needed to do that end bit to show. Oh, there was a happy ending with them. Because if they didn't have that bit with the baby, and it's obviously they're supposed to be their baby, you would be like, that lasted 3 months.
Well, exactly. To my point earlier, it's like you would have just assumed like, you know, dude, this is a girl you met through her using you to cheat. She's shown nothing but self-interest her entire part in this movie. she's going to do that to you too. You'd
Oh,
be a fool to
100%.
not see that coming your way.
But
And
that's the thing.
how
They
I
could.
would
They
have
could.
assumed it all ended, honestly.
If they did 4 Weddings and Funeral 2, no, it wouldn't do, but it'd be something else. But you could understand him just being a bumbling idiot with the kids, and she's off cheating in Vogue or wherever. She's gone back to New York, you know, and she's happy as Larry, you know, like shagging around. And you'll be like, it makes sense because I've seen the first movie. And that's what I just, she's so bad in it. She's so bad. And that's it. Like, she just doesn't care. She's like, I'm here, I'm reading lines. And it's like Richard Curtis must have gone, oh, we need an actress who's available. And she was like, yeah, I'm here. I don't give a shit. You know, and it's like that. And she just seems to have turned up and just gone, I just don't care. I just don't care. But to that point, I understand why it's became a bit of iconic movie, because it was the first one really that we sold to the United States. Really, that was that romantic comedy that, you know, really this is Hugh Grant. This is his breakthrough movie. You know, like the other ones have been in British TV. You know, Christian Scott Thomas, like, you know, otherwise from that, like they've all been there. Like John Hammond went on to Hannah went on to do The Mummy, didn't he?
Lots of drama.
Lots of that. And they've all been on those period dramas. You always, if you put on a period drama, they're going to be on there. So you got that great stable British actors, and you got and then they had the phone Rowan Atkinson. He can deliver them lines. So you've got that stable, and then you just got diabolical like actress who's the lead, and it's just like that why I bring it down. Now, would I recommend the movie? I would recommend the movie once, and I wouldn't. My girlfriend and I had to go, if you were flicking through the TV and this was on, would you stop? We both said no, we would go straight on. This is I'm going to give my girlfriend score. She gave it a 3.
Wow.
And I would give it a 4.
Wow.
I would give it, and I would give it a 4. I like, it is just watch it once. I would never have to watch this again. I just don't like this movie. Unfortunately, like, I get why it's there, and I get the portrayal for when it's funeral, because the bits I like, and I remember the bits I like, you know, with Gareth and Matthew, I like it's, and the comedy little bits and make you laugh. That's really great. The rest of it, I just find a bit, I just don't like. And every time Carrie comes on scene, I'm like, oh, I was enjoying it when you weren't there. That's the thing, is when she comes on screen, you're like, that's it. And the romance, you know, the quirky lines, so like the river at Southwark, it's like when she actually delivered, oh, what? It's like, it's not bad. So unfortunately, it's not for, I would like to know in chat if the Brits feel the same, if it's like, but yeah, I did discuss this with other people, and they like the Brits. Yeah, it's not a Brit. It's not a likable British film. It's British, but I think there's
it's British so made for America.
Yeah, it's so heavily of like this opinion of the you get them movies that we like, you know, like and you would go, it's not American. That's not how we do it, you know, like that. And it's funny, like, but like, there we go. Here's a good thing. If I had to pick Carrie, and we hate these characters, or any friend out of Saturday Night Fever, I'm going to go for any friend out of Saturday Night Fever. And we said they were horrible. And that's the thing. And that's the thing. If you had to pick her or one of them, I'm going to go for one of them.
Yeah,
like that.
No, she is awful. And I would say, to your point about you and Jade saying you wouldn't stop on, you know, flicking through channels you'd flick through, I would revise mine just to say, if I saw it on, I would watch, but I'd probably stop after the eulogy, because the final act with his wedding and Carrie is where I'm just like, oh, this whole love story is just not working for me. And at that point, you kind of lose a lot of the friend stuff. It really focuses on Hugh and Carrie, for the most part there. So I would happily rewatch everything up to the eulogy. If I came in and I was like, oh, we're past the eulogy, yeah, I'll probably skip past it. But if I stopped at any point before that, I would definitely probably keep watching.
John, who's on IMDb? Ask Jack. I'm sure he's actually right. John Hammond. So yeah, that is a very like sci-fi I suppose you have to call it sci-fi things. Actually, I actually don't mind that movie. Yeah.
One other thing I would love to point out, because we went by it. Yep, that is correct, Jack. He is in
yeah.
Now, one little line from is it Tom, or is that the actor's name? The Fiona's brother. His name's is it Tom? Okay. I loved the one little line he had at the end when they were trying to create a diversion, because Hugh's obviously going through this dilemma that he shouldn't really be going through because Carrie's awful. But he's going through this dilemma of, what do I do? She just announced that I'm divorced. He goes out to tell the wedding guests, like, oh, somebody's sitting too close near some flowers or something. We have to move and all that. And he comes back in. They're like, did they buy it? And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's one of the nice things about everybody thinking you're stupid. Nobody thinks you're up to anything. And I thought it was such a good line.
Yeah.
Again, it shows that he's not the idiot everybody thinks he is. He's just an optimist. He's just a hopeless romantic and an optimist. So, which can come off as kind of dolty at times, but he's not an idiot. He's well aware of how people perceive him and all that.
He's simple. He's simple, not in a bad way, but he's simple. He's clear. He's to the point. Guy. There's nothing complicated about him, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. But no, fair points, both of you. Definitely.
But that's the thing is, like, I think having this on our will, it's going to sound really harsh here. It reminded me that I didn't like it, because I think in my mind I went, I think I like this movie. And when I watched it, because I went, why haven't I watched this movie again? And then when I watched it, I was like, that's why. That's why.
Right.
Yeah, I was
I can totally relate to that too, because, like I said, sometimes we do it with American movies. They portray things here very different, or kind of the same way. It's showing them what people kind of think of America, type of thing. And even specifically Boston movies I can relate to more is when they do the accents and they're so over the top, like The Departed with Matt Damon. Matt Damon's accent, which is crazy because he's actually from here.
Yes.
His accent is so over the top. It's like, dude, you need to dial it back. Like, even Mark Wahlberg, who's also from here, his is a little, like, they just go. And that's probably the direction of Scorsese in that movie. It's like, all right, let me hear you guys' Boston accent. And he has the normal one. And he's like, could you guys ham it up a little more? Because people all around the rest of the country.
They don't say their A's properly, do they?
Yeah, they really think you guys put the R in there. And it's like, and the other thing too is not everybody from here has this accent. My wife doesn't have the accent at all. She's kind of trained it out of her speech and doesn't. Occasionally you'll hear a little bit of it slip, but not everybody has the accent either. And it's kind of this over the top thing of everybody's got the accent. It's all exaggerated. It's all this, that, the other. And you can almost sense that the idea was like, could you guys just ham it up a little bit more? People think the accent's pretty thick. So I can totally relate to that.
So can you pronounce that then? Departed. But that's what it would be, but that's exactly like, I suppose you can have more traits like a Londoner. We all, we've got that like East London accent, even Tom Hardy, every time he does a London accent, he does that, like East London EastEnders accent. That that's a Londoner. And he's a West End Q boy, so he's like a posh Richmond boy. So it's funny, but it's like I think it just shows like it's for its time. Now the one thing I find funny, because we do see London. What do you not get in this movie that you couldn't have today?
I don't know.
Where's any black person? Any person of color
doesn't meet
literally not
quota,
no, but this is London. You're like, they're people in London. You don't see any.
And there's
like
no
Asian,
London, no Indian,
I actually didn't even notice.
They'd like that. You've got to more probably in the 90s. Probably you're gonna have like the Caribbean like element somewhere in there from there like that. But you've not got anyone. You've got nobody. It's like it's literally hilarious that you got. Apparently, you don't get black friends in the 90s. I was like, what's going on there? It's London. Jesus. It did make me giggle. I was like,
I actually didn't even catch that. Well,
when I saw it, like, and I was like, do you know what? There's literally nobody.
Well, to be honest, part of it was that, like, I wasn't even looking at background characters because I was just so into this group of friends. I thought they were all such good characters, from Gareth to Matthew to Fiona to Tom. I was so focused on them, and then you get these little drops of Rowan Atkinson, and it's like I was so focused on the characters in focus that I didn't really pay too much attention to kind of the people surrounding them.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, or is it time?
No, I think that covers it for me. I'm good for the wheel here.
Good snuggle up. If you've got nothing better to do with the ones you love, just snuggle up and watch this film. It's not a masterpiece. And I think, both of your assessments are definitely fair. But there's some goodness here, particularly in the performances we've talked about. So thank you again, and thank the Wheel of Film. Is it 3 in a row of mine that have come up?
I'm on a drought. I know that. I don't
It's
think
your
I've had one
turn,
in a while.
Jay. Yeah. Oh, it's not. No, because Trouble with the Curve.
No,
definitely
yes,
wasn't
because
mine.
we had.
Yeah.
I think we had.
Yeah, you had your double. You had your double. Then
we
mine.
had a stasis streak for a while because we had Zulu, we had Trouble with the Curve, and I want to say there was another war one before Zulu.
Rommel.
Was Rommel right before that?
We're gonna, okay. So
Bit of a
Jay,
stasis
it's got to be. Is it? Are you hoping it's you then?
We'll see. I mean, we'll see. I hope whatever I pick is good.
I must say, I kind of want an action one. I think I want. I was like, I'm earning for like an action movie. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we got. We've got
not
one
in the classic sense of action. We've done some war ones that have action, but not in that classic sense of an action movie. I'm gonna go for animated.
Like a Die Hard or something.
You want an animated, yeah.
You want animated, yeah. Sandy, as you called it last that time.
I feel bad. I don't want to. I don't want one of mine because I feel like I've had so many. And then 2 before that was Event Horizon was not too long ago. So yeah, I'm. If we want action. Oh gosh, I mean, we got to go action. We got to go Die Hard, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Die Hard's got to be. So no, I am actually wearing Empire Strikes Back, so it might be that. But otherwise, that's like Jay. If you want animated, it's going to be anime, and you're going to get in trouble if you're not done yet.
Oh God, no! Don't put that on me.
I just saw Akira there, so that's a classic. Okay, are we ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go, people.
Let's go.
Everybody in chat. Here we go. 5. Love the countdown. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Castaway.
There you go.
Okay.
Who's that?
That wasn't me.
Wasn't me. You might. I think it is one of yours. Yeah, that's not one of mine. So Castaway.
Did I really put that
Tom
on
Hanks? There? You must have. That wouldn't have been one of mine. So it must have been.
I don't know why I would have put it on. I mean, I like the movie, but I don't know.
Wilson.
I do like it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm surprised I would have put that on there as like kind of like making a list of
yours. So we're going into UPS drama, or is it? No, what UPS? What is it? Is it
FedEx.
Yeah, FedEx. There we go. FedEx.
I do like this movie though, so that'll be a good one. But I don't recall putting it on there. It must have been because the making of this process was so much of like think of one movie and then it spider webs into a bunch of other ones. So this might have been one of the spider webs, and I just threw it on there, not really thinking of it. It probably came from the original thought of a movie
Well, this is completely different to what we've done, though. This is this is like very drama driven, isn't it? So it's like
drama, a solo acting performance for the most part, which we haven't seen much of. It's been a lot of just your standard movies with a lot of characters and actors. So
true story. I have a book to read then.
Yay!
I didn't know it was a true story. I've seen the film. I had no idea it was a true story.
Same here. No clue.
There we go. Castaway. So that's have our wheelhouse, I suppose, like that. There you go, Jay. You got one. There we go. Yay! That's the best thing.
And the wheel evens things out.
I think I saw this. It was actually on TV, and I just watched it. Yeah, I
do really like this movie.
I was like, I hadn't watched it, and it came on. I was like, huh.
Oh wait, no, there's 2 Castaways. Okay. There's a film Castaway, all one word, that is not this one. Okay, so Cast Away with Tom Hanks. Hang on.
Yeah, if this was my pick, then it was definitely the Tom Hanks one.
Yeah. See, this is there a book?
Because I feel like it can't be a true story.
Would it be? It might be You wouldn't think if it was FedEx, they
Nope.
would you would remember a plane crash.
Yeah, it was not. It was inspired by a real life story,
Okay,
but it was
there
a
you go.
screenplay. Okay, so I don't have a book to read because
There you go.
I'm in the middle. Talk about movies that spider into 100 other films. Jay, every book I pick up for film club leads me to more books. So like when I read The Great Escape, I read 3 other accounts
No
from
kidding.
3 other of the prisoners. Luckily, they were relatively short. And then what's the last one I read for film club? Oh, the one for Zulu. It was just such a bad book, so I found something else. So now I'm just doing.
Oh, you wanted Zulu Dong you were looking for, weren't you? The thing for that.
Yeah, I wanted so anyway, so yeah, it's turned into a whole another long list of books that I'm enjoying right now, which is good, But I need to get
you got
my
a long slide ahead, so you can get some
And
reading
what we got
done there. That'll be good.
And Sandy, your next pick, is it a book? And can you let everybody know what is next?
So it is I have ordered the play. It's Glengarry Glen Ross. And it was a David Mamet play, which I love David Mamet plays. And I was saying before, like David Mamet, Sidney Lumet, those two together for me are like, the kind of encapsulating the 70s, but this film was made in the 90s, but it was about the gritty 70s. I cannot wait I watched it again this week. I'm going to watch it one more time and read the play. It's a really short play, but and I've seen the play on screen in London with an amazing cast that included Christian Slater and Chris Marshall. When you look at the cast of this film, oh my gosh. I mean, when Alan Arkin is the last listed character of you start with Al Pacino, Alec Baldwin, Jack Lemmon just kills it. Ed Harris, Kevin Spacey, Alan Arkin. Oh my God, the performances are just unbelievable. It's a simple story. Again, really simple story. Jonathan Pryce is in this film. A really, really simple story. And it's not, I don't want to say sort of like Love Actually, but I mean like 4 Weddings, but it's all about the characters. These are all middle to late aged white guys, all in the real estate business, yet each character is very different and crafted and portrayed in very different ways. So I hope the two of you enjoy it as much as I have, and I can't wait to talk about it next time, whenever that is, we get together for film club.
Yes, indeed.
So everyone has your homework. You have your homework. Watch Glengarry Glen Ross, or grab the play, grab the play and read the play as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I have not seen that one before, and the cast looks stellar, so I'm really looking forward to that.
It's one of those ones, 20 plus years. It's got to be it's got to be since it came on, and but yeah, so it'd be good rewatch because I must say it's one of the I've watched it and I can't remember it, so it'd be like it's one of those ones. So yeah, it would be good to have a little rewatch, like that. So, but I'm guessing a lot of people have not watched it, so there's your little homework. Go. But yeah, Sandy, what you got coming up?
I got a pack.
Get a pack.
I got a pack. I'm heading across the pond in a couple of days. So yeah, that's what I got coming up. I got some history and cool stuff to do. And amazingly, one of the sites that I'm visiting had a major archaeological discovery just last week. So I am kind of beside myself, and I can't wait to get over there. So and to see a lot of good people over there. So
bring your umbrella and a woolly hat.
Bringing my brolly. I don't do hats. I can't wear hats.
Jay, what you got coming up?
Sleep. I am exhausted. I was up pretty late last night and a long day for me today, so I'm a little tired. So I think honestly maybe spend the rest of the night sitting on the couch with the wife watching something. I'm not sure what yet, but we'll see.
There you go. Notting Hill, Love Actually. So you can do that.
Bridget Jones.
Oh no, not that.
But in terms of I'm good on that. In terms of the channel, I think maybe a Batman stream tomorrow. I'd like to get one in. It's been a little bit since I've done one, so something like that. And then more videos coming up on kind of different things. I have one out right now about some recent DCU news we got from the James Gunn universe and whatever the hell he's making over there. So that's one out now. I'm going to work on another one about a Superman trailer that I think we're due to get in the middle of December or something like that. And then just more reviews. I have to watch some more newer things too, because I haven't done a new movie review in a little bit. I think the last one I did might have been Beetlejuice, possibly. So I got to get my my behind to the theater and watch something new. I haven't watched it yet, and
I don't want
Gladiator is one of my favorite movies, the original.
Yes.
It's like one of my top 5 favorites, and I'm like, I don't think this needed a sequel. I'm kind of hearing mixed things. Some people aren't liking it. Some people think it's solid. Some people think it's just average, which like at least kind of middle of the road average doesn't do damage to what came before it. But like, again, if you weren't going to do something great, why bring this franchise back? It was a standalone movie. You didn't need to, but we'll see. I'm somewhat feel a little bit like I might have missed the window for it too, because it doesn't sound like there's a lot of buzz around it, to be honest. So it's like if I didn't get that review out opening weekend, it might not even be worth the time it would take to do it. So we'll see. I'm not going to watch Wicked just because I'm not too interested. It's not my cup of tea. But I also would feel disingenuous doing a review on that, because if I don't like it, that doesn't really give a good reflection of the movie, because it, by all accounts, people who love Wicked are loving it, and it's apparently a really good adaptation of it. I would just feel weird reviewing it, being like, I didn't like this because it's a musical. It's something I don't like. I don't think I'm qualified to review that. So those two I'm probably going to pass on.
But remember, this is the Oscars. This is the favorite. This is the deal. It got leaked. This is the deal. They got leaked that they Wicked will wipe the floor at the Oscars.
Oh, really?
So at the time they made a deal with Disney that Snow White would wipe the floor the next year, so they wouldn't go against each other. Snow White,
it's gonna wipe something, but I don't think it's gonna be the floor.
That last trailer that got leaked. Oh,
brutal! It is everything they said it was gonna be.
Yeah, you're like, that's.
I'm not a Snow White. Well. I'm not a big Snow White fan. I didn't grow up on Disney princesses. I grew up on Disney, Lion King, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not a Snow White guy. But
you can appreciate the movie.
Snow White. Right? I know Snow White. I can appreciate what it is. I can appreciate the story it's telling. This is an abomination by the look of the trailer. Ooh, good luck.
The only people who are going to do well are YouTubers who have got a little bit straight.
Maybe I'll watch that just to rip it to shreds.
It's going to be the next Last Jedi, I think, for Disney. It's literally the last thing. So yeah, it looks bad. I don't know what they were thinking of, and unfortunately, the main actress can't shut her mouth. I think they've got. Unfortunately, Disney have got the habit of hiring people that they just need to go, stop. Come off social until we air. Can you we'll do the promotion, because I think it's ruined her. I think she's now called 53% probably now of Americans artards. Let's be really polite of her. That's it. So that's great promotional stuff right there.
And not for nothing, on top of the unlikability of her and her just insufferability, what you saw in that trailer is it's dull. It's another cringy. Disney live action adaptation, just like The Lion King, Aladdin, all the ones that come before. It is dull. The world looks dull, boring.
The only one was
Gal Gadot is not a good actress.
Beauty and the Beast, I must say, Beauty and the Beast.
I didn't watch that one.
Terrible. It isn't terrible. It's actually it's solid. It's their first kind of one, and then they just went into like weird. What's going on? It's just like it's just terrible.
It's these muted color. It takes all the fun and joy out of what used to be beautiful, colorful Disney animated movies. Now it's just these dull. They're going too far into the realism. One thing, whether you like the Sonic the Hedgehog movies or not, because they're not great movies, but they're fun little easy watches that at least respect the IP that it is. One thing I've always appreciated from them the most is the fact that they changed the Sonic design. They went with that ultra realistic kind of look for a Sonic design, and everybody's like, dude, what the hell is this? and they took the feedback, they changed it, and they gave you a live action version of Sonic the cartoon video game character. Disney is insistent on doing things like making Lion King, but making it look like real lions, and doing Little Mermaid and making Flounder just a regular looking fish, like it, and Sebastian a regular looking crab. That realism is not working for these live action things.
It's not fun.
They need to follow exactly. It's like, not for nothing, but again, I wasn't a Little Mermaid kid, but I would recognize Sebastian and Flounder from a mile away because their image is iconic. And Sonic got it right. Sonic tried the realism thing. People rejected it and said, we want the iconic look. And they figured out a way to make the cartoon, have the essential cartoon features in this live action format. Disney's not doing. I've even seen people take like the Lion King that came out and take Simba and digital, like change it, change the eyes, make it look more like the cartoon, but also have the live action. And they did phenomenal. I'm like, how does somebody on Twitter with the Photoshop do this better than Disney with all their resources? It's a bizarre choice. I don't know why they keep doing it. And they're going to do more of it here. I will say they might actually try to do a separation of it here. And because it looks like they wanted to make the dwarves look, the 7 dwarves look like they did animated style, but the CGI looks nightmarish. They look terrible.
I know somebody worked on doing the costume design, and they got called in 4 times because of reshoots. Ooh. And it was because the backlash, because of what people were saying, and just because it wasn't working. So 4 times this got reshot.
Not a good
How much money has this got to bring back 4 times? And apparently this is not like, we're on set, like this movie's 6 months. They got pulled back months and months and months. So this is like chunks were like re-edited, redone, just because it wasn't working. So it's like this is going to be a bomb. I think it's going to be like a mastermind of what not to do with a movie, because it's a simple story. If you kept to the path, it's done well, like that.
And it's not even that they're making like subtle changes to the story to make it translate to live action. No, you are fundamentally missing the point of the story and going with an entirely different thing about liberating. I don't know what the hell this whole movie is going to be. It's going to be a failure, in my opinion. We'll see if it makes money. I don't think so, but oof, that trailer leaking. No wonder they're not putting it. When was the last time a company put a trailer? And maybe it happens more frequently than I realize, but I feel like nowadays trailers hit online before they ever hit the theater.
Yeah.
When have they started secretly airing trailers, especially for a movie like this, Snow White live action that they've invested this much money into?
Next one, for next year.
And they're hiding the trailer in front of Wicked and not putting it online. I haven't seen that in some time. I think they know the pile of crap they have in their hands, and even Gal Gadot. I like Gal Gadot. I got no issue with her, but she can't act. I'm sorry, she can't act. She's very wooden in this role. I don't know much about Rachel Zegler's acting, to be honest. I've never watched anything with her because I find her so insufferable that I don't want to. But there's a good chance this will be the first one I watch, because I have a feeling YouTube, like you said, YouTubers might do pretty well with this one. So we're gonna see.
I think so.
So there we go. Me and Jay are gearing up to do a Snow White review.
There you go. You guys have at it.
You seem like the perfect couple people to do it.
Now, I'm pretty sure my daughters are going to go see Wicked, because we did. It was the very first Broadway musical that they saw, but they saw it in London the first time that I took them to London. They were little, and I got to see Idina Menzel. I got to see the original Elphaba. It was unreal. And it was their first theater experience. So it is in their blood.
Right.
My youngest would, she'd kill me. Well, it's on the internet now. It's on YouTube now. But she would have little tea parties, and she would write invitations for all of us to come to a tea party, and she would just sing at her little tea parties. And
that's adorable.
It was the songs from it was Defying Gravity from.
That's the only song I know
from Wicked, and so I know they're going to go see it and have at it. I hope it's actually getting really good.
This I keep hearing it's a fair adaptation.
Yeah. But it's what I think it's for Wicked. I think it's for that audience,
right?
They are now in that audience. It's not for that. It's for that, and that group are going to go back and back and back.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be like
that's why I think it's going to do really well. It's just you're going to get that ones are like, oh, what am I watching? I don't get why I'm watching, but you're going to get the ones, this is really good because it's like, and it's apparently, it's literally like 90% right to what you watched on stage. So they've done quite well on it, and that's what you want. Yeah.
Good on them. It's not my cup of tea. It's not something I'm interested in. But good on them for doing a faithful adaptation, one that's pleasing the fan base and all that. I got no qualms there. It's for me, it's more just I don't like to avoid reviewing things just because it's not up my alley, but this one and specifically feels like I don't think I'm qualified to review it because I might, the best I can come out of it is maybe just saying that like fundamentally this is all good stuff, good acting, good cinematography, CGI, singing, all that. But I have a hard time believing I'm going to really like it. So I don't want to do a review being like, yeah, this is all good, but I also don't like it. It just feels disingenuous. It feels like
have you really got worried that, but have you got also worry you might turn into a Wicked fan?
Well, yeah, that's always I might become a Wicked fan. My wife might leave me after that if I'm singing Defying Gravity around the house. So maybe that's part of it. No, I'm only kidding.
But think about that now, like for Snow White, who is that made for? Right. So Wicked is made for, the girls who are now teenagers and young adults who saw it as kids, like my kids did. Who is Snow White for? It's not for the people who appreciated that Snow White was the very first animated film to win Oscars. It was groundbreaking for Disney because this isn't that story. And then the rest of us, I all due respect to whoever wrote it originally. I don't know if it was a Grimm's fairy tale or what have you.
Yeah, I thought it was Brothers Grimm's originally.
But
could be wrong.
Who's interested? I don't know who's interested in it. Like who is it's going to have to be based on the draw of Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler. God help you. But I loved Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman because I thought she did a good Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I thought she worked in that role.
Yeah, for the physical work and the acting a little bit too. But
once you're relying on her acting ability, it's like, ooh, good luck.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, I think there would have been a point in time, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where hearing a live action Snow White movie would be something that would have a lot of, especially my generation, I'm the 90s kids, I feel like we all grew up on these Disney animated. Obviously they predate us. So I'm sure a few other generations did as well, especially Snow White. I mean, Snow White's how old, for Christ's sake? But I feel like in the 90s, there was this big resurgence of some of even these older ones because you were getting newer ones like The Lion King, like Toy Story and all these things. So these Disney princesses all kind of came back. So even though the original Snow White was a lot older, I feel like there was a big, it was still very popular amongst kids when I was growing up, especially obviously, girls. So I think just generally, if it wasn't the Snow White movie they're making, that would help because I think people are immediately going to see that this is not the Snow White, that people know and love. And two, if they hadn't already butchered visually and just fundamentally so many of these live action adaptations before from Aladdin and I do think Aladdin and Lion King made money, but nobody left feeling like, oh my God, I can't wait for them to do more with this because it made money because everybody was interested to check it out because it was a super popular IPs. Nobody came out of that being like, oh, I can't wait to watch. Well, maybe some did, but on the whole, I can't wait to watch that again. When are they going to do more of this? I feel like the general consensus is more of like, that was nothing close to as good as the original animateds were. So had they not done so much ill will with these bad adaptations in terms of kind of their longevity and the way people view them past the money they made, as well as not having this insufferable actress continue to open her mouth and do these. I mean, everybody's free to open their mouth, don't get me wrong, but my word, are you damaging your brand and the potential earnings of this company by saying the things you're saying as viciously as you say them? All these kind of things, I think, have really crushed the market that would be there for a Snow White live action movie. Maybe 10 years ago when the Beauty and the Beast one came out, for example.
Yeah. I
think then this would have done a lot better. Now it's like nobody wants this. I don't think.
You're right.
Even families, I don't think family like this is it. Judging by the trailer, it doesn't feel like a family movie. Not that it's like touching on topics and things that families maybe don't want to bring their kids to, but more so that it just doesn't look like a fun family experience. I don't think any family is going to look at this and be like, "Ooh."
But also, Disney's lost people's trust.
Well, that too, right? So so there's just a whole combination of things where it's like a market that would have been here for this during the days of that Beauty and the Beast and even that first Cinderella live action. Hell, even some of the Maleficent ones. Whatever group was there for those, I I'm hard pressed to believe it's that strong for this one, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to have a lot of shouty people and a lot of people just going, "It's crap."
Yeah, and then there's going to be a lot of people saying you don't like it because you're this, this, and that.
X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
That's
as always.
So
what they did with Little Mermaid, and it's just fundamentally was crap. So
it was fundamentally just, and I didn't see the film, but some of my friends and I think one of my kids did, and they were like, "Okay, forget about the terrible singing and the terrible acting. They couldn't see anything. It was so
I had heard that
very dark filtered, and
which sorry, go ahead.
The original Little Mermaid was these bright colors.
Yes, exactly. Flounder and these musical scenes with these fish and all this stuff, this underwater life. It was beautiful. It was fantastic animation.
Yeah, but their excuse to that, didn't they? They said because it's underwater, and then they had Avatar 2 came out, and it was like, well, that's underwater, and it was bright. Yeah,
and also it's like, it's under. But the logic of it's underwater. Dude, it's a story about a mermaid. Now we want to start bringing realistic logic into it. Like,
fish.
What are we doing here? And a seagull that's rapping is Aquafina. Like, the water is where we want to be logical. Give me a break.
They should have just done the original Little Mermaid story and just scared the shit out of all the kids watching it. That's what they should have done.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's not a good, not a good one to do. What did she just do, Mummy? She cut off her own feet.
Well, the original Little Red Riding Hood is a hit too, man.
There are some. Yeah, the Disney went, yes, we'll have that one. We can make it family friendly. Now they have family friendly movies, and then they make it the other way. It's quite good how they've done that for themselves.
Agatha Christie did a take on Hansel and Gretel that was even worse than the Grimm fairy tale. I mean, that was I love Agatha Christie's, and this one was really gruesome. It was absolutely gruesome. But yeah, it was the Hansel and Gretel story. Ooh, little witch in the woods that eats little children. Lovely. And on that note,
Sandy's, you got to go and pack, haven't you? So so
I've got to pack, but I did want to ask: were either of you going to? I know, Stasis, you said you weren't, or one of you said that Gladiator didn't need a sequel. Were either of you going to go see it or no?
I was gonna if things didn't obviously my week kind of took a turn, so I was planning on it with it. I believe it's opened this week, right? Or was it last week it opened? Am I already a week late on it? I can't even remember. Yeah. I was planning on this weekend to go, but like now I've missed it again because things got a little busy. So I'm like, I just feel like I've missed the window on it. So I may just wait till I can watch it at home on this one. To be honest, my wife's never seen the first, so I really wanted her to see that one. It's funny this came up. I just talked to her about this today. Literally this exact conversation about hearing these things about it. And I told her, I'm like, I really wanted to watch the first one with you first because you've never seen it anyway. So by the time that's done, it's going to be next weekend, and it's that 2-3 weeks out in theaters already. It's getting kind of lukewarm reviews, not good, not great, and those reviews are always tough to do because it's just like I kind of feel like the whole time I'm just like, oh, this was fine, this aspect was fine, that aspect was fine. It's not it doesn't feel like the greatest reviews. It's better to do like this was great, I love this, or this and this was wrong with it. When you have those mediocre movies, they just feel so. It feels like I'm not giving substance to a review where I'm just like, oh, the acting was fine. Oh, the music was fine. The cinematography was fine type of thing. So it's like, I don't know. We'll see.
Now, let's say this. I was excited to watch Napoleon by the same director. And I went and it turned in. Me and Sandy did a review. Go and watch it.
Because I'll have to check that out. I really wanted to watch that movie and then I heard about it.
It hurt because you came out of it. I really want to see it. And that, so I've lost faith in the director.
Scott, right?
Yeah, lost faith in the director. He's done. Yeah, he's done crap after crap. Like, and you like, and then you have to say, did it need it? No, it didn't. I would recommend anybody who loves that kind of era go and watch BBC Rome. That is that TV series. It got cancelled short, but it's still bloody wonderful. So if you just want to watch it for Roman stuff, watch that because so far it's got it's things, but. I've just lost faith in the director, and I hate to say it, the cast.
I'm so sick of Pedro Pascal.
Yeah,
I'm so sick of Pedro Pascal and everything. I love Denzel, as you guys know from my list of movies. He's on there quite a bit. So I love Denzel. That's great. I don't know the main actor. I don't know. I'm not familiar with them, but
no,
I'm sick to death of Pedro Pascal too. I'm just, I just.
But the trailers just didn't do it for me. The trailers just seemed a bit. Oh,
too.
yeah.
With like the,
So-
I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't want to start a whole. I know Sandy's got to
Yeah.
pack, and I got to get some sleep, and I'm sure Stasis has things to do. So I don't want to go on a whole thing
You
about that.
mentioned the
But
Napoleon review, though. So Jay, if you haven't watched, I think James, we went 4.5 hours.
I'd almost
on a
rather just watch that.
2.5
To be
hour movie.
honest,
We
I'd
we-
rather just
and we
watch
were
that.
we agreed vehemently on everything wrong with that film. I actually had so much fun reviewing it with you because we shared the same pain in watching it.
Well,
It's going to be a historical movie, and you go, "Oh, for flipping heck!"
And I had read the book beforehand, Jay. I read the
Mhm.
book, the books. You know, there are 2
Mm.
or 3 good Napoleon biographies out there. One of which is relatively new, just utterly a waste.
That's the saying. Like he's
my
like,
life.
what did he do? Prometheus before that, like that, like, and that
there
was
didn't he
dumb,
do
and
a
he's just
Robin Hood with Russell Crowe? Was that really Scott? Russell Crowe
yeah,
and Emma Watson? I think
but
that
yeah,
was
but
him.
he just seemed to have lost his way, like doing their great epics and like but like
I'm trying to think. What was the last good one he did? Was it Gladiator 1? Was
Is
it the
he a
first
sir?
Gladiator?
Is he a Sir Ridley?
I'm not too sure.
I'm
I'm
just
not too
curious.
sure.
I just want to see.
But like he did, is it Kingdom of Heaven? Is he's great concept and just missed the mark? It's just
the one
like,
I like. The one I like is The Martian. I think
I'll give you, I like that. Yeah,
Martian was good. Martian was good.
Yeah, but that's when that's not really like, it's not that like when he does a historical epic, and that's what he's like he likes that kind of like everything. Yeah, and he just falls short every time, except for like Gladiator, where he's good things. Now he's just like, what are you doing? Like, you just want this great CGI 1, 2, 3 battle scenes. The rest of it just not coherent. It's just like, it's just like trying to be clever when you're not clever.
Oh my god, he did House of Gucci recently. I heard that was
that was awful. That is
Last
awful.
Duel with I think it was Ben
it.
Affleck and Damon. I hadn't seen it, but I heard mixed.
I wanted to watch that. But it's just one of that. Yeah, he's just like, again, it's
Exodus,
just like
Gods and Kings. I stopped watching Exodus, Gods
bloody
and Kings.
awful. That is awful.
Brutal. Yeah, honestly, The Martian is the last, like, I think consensus good movie he did. The best you can look at after that is The Last Duel, and I never watched it, so I don't have an opinion on it, but I heard that was kind of mixed.
And then see, he produced all of the Ken Branagh, Hercule Poirot films. You know, Death on the Nile, Murder on the
Nile. They're all right.
They're all right, but you know what? There was just something that was a little subpar with all of them, and I love my.
You watch them, you won't probably watch them again. You watch them, go, they were good, they were entertaining. So if anybody wants to watch them, I say watch them. They're quite good back to back. Watch them. Would you go back?
They were sort of overproduced. Now that I'm thinking, like, they were over the top on the costumes, over the top on the sets. You know, just whereas you watch your good old David Stark, what's his name? Not Starkey. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. David Suchet. So sorry. On good old PBS. They're very well done and very tight and not overproduced. But now that I'm thinking, they're kind of overacted too. But that's a Ken Branagh thing anyway.
Yeah.
That is disappointing.
I did not realize he directed American Gangster. I actually really enjoy that movie, and that one made the list as one of my choices. So I'll have to give him credit there. I did not know he did that. Also, that was 2007, so some time ago, but I did not know he did American Gangster or Body of Lies, which was one I liked. It's not great, but that was with Leo and Russell Crowe. It kind of went under the radar. It was between American Gangster and Robin Hood, the Russell Crowe. I mean, all 3 of these had Russell Crowe. It was sandwiched in between them in 2008. And it kind of went under the radar, but it wasn't a bad movie. I liked it. It was Leo and Russell, so he often can't go wrong there.
But, he is Sir Ridley.
Outside of that, there's not a ton on here that I'm like, yeah, these are good movies.
He was knighted in 2003.
There you go. After Gladiator.
I know that. Oh,
there
well,
you go.
Fair enough.
It must have been. I bet it was
for that one.
Yeah.
Hearing it for that one. I don't know if they can retroactively take those back for things like
no.
House of Gucci.
You're shit now. We're taking it back now, definitely.
Make a good movie. We'll give it back to you.
So there we go. We're not watching Gladiator 2, but we're watching Snow White.
Yeah, go figure. Who would have thought?
There you go, figure. But on that note, I hope everybody's had a great time watching 4 weddings. and a funeral. So yeah, I hope everybody's rewatched it. If you loved it, you hated it. It was a good. I must say, it was a good, actually good review. So I must say that it was actually a good little insight. But until next time, Sandy's off to the great side of the pond. Jay can say his A's in Boston.
I'm off to a nice nap.
Yeah, until then,
Enjoy your nap,
everybody
Jay.
have a good one. Bye for now.
Bye.